Chapter 302. A bunch of little brats. Aren't you going to welcome me when you hear my voice? Are you looking for a beating? Old man you pointed at the surrounding students and put on a teacher's posture. I'm telling you, I will be the only teacher in the devil class in future. Little brats, if you want to have a good life, don't forget to please me. Students, he was indeed a crazy old man, totally unable to tell what was so powerful and mysterious about him. No wonder the academy would let him be a teacher in the devil class. Teacher Guiyu. Yiqing Luo called out softly. She could tell that Xiao Jin and Yin Xiao Yi's faces had sunk after Old Man Guiyu said those words. Old Man Guiyu turned his head around with a face full of smiles. Do you feel that I have the demeanor of a teacher today? This smile made Yiqing Luo's heart feel as though it had been struck hard somewhere. After some time, her pink lips moved and revealed a warm smile. Yes, Teacher Guiyu. Old Man Guiyu's eyes were clear, and his smile was very clean. He was happy from the bottom of his heart to be able to become a teacher in the devil class, even if the reason why he wanted to be a teacher was mostly because of her. But Old Man Guiyu, who had no grudges and was not ashamed of the devil class, his heart to become a teacher was sincere. He who had always been slovenly had changed into a clean teacher's robe today. That head of dry hair was tied neatly at the back of his head. For so many years, had Old Man Guiyu changed himself for anyone? Even if it was such a big event like the Heavenly Academy's recruitment, he had always put on a sloppy look and had never thought of tidying up his image. But for the devil class, he changed himself. Yiqing Luo's eyes gradually filled with warmth. Her pink lips curled up slightly as she took the initiative to hold Old Man Guiyu's hand, but her vision shifted to Xiao Jin. I want to meet the class monitor. After being together for half a month, Xiao Jin naturally understood Yiqing Luo's intention. He frowned tightly and stared at Yiqing Luo for some time. All right. After dispersing the students, Yiqing Luo tried her best to persuade Old Man Guiyu back to his personal dormitory. Old Man Guiyu might have sensed that devil class wasn't the class he had imagined, and looking at the atmosphere between Yiqing Luo and those students, he wasn't willing to make things difficult for Yiqing Luo, so he didn't insist on staying on. Returning to the dormitory, he had just closed his eyes to rest for a while when he heard Lu Xiaoyu and Lu Shua arguing outside the hall. She frowned and pressed down on her aching brows as she stood up. When he opened the door, he saw Lu Xiaoyu standing beside the wooden table, while Lu Shuiyu was sitting elegantly to the side, drinking tea. Her cold eyes were filled with disdain. Seeing Yiqing Luo coming out, Lu Xiaoyu was slightly stunned, and her expression immediately softened. Qing Luo, sorry to wake you up. During this period of time, Yiqing Luo seemed to be especially busy. Every time she returned to the freshman training grounds, she would disappear without a trace. If she knew that Yiqing Luo was sleeping in the dormitory, she would definitely not argue with Lu Shuiyu. Seeing Yiqing Luo, a sliver of astonishment flashed past Lu Shuiyu's eyes. Yiqing Luo waved her hand. What's wrong? Isn't it because of some conceited person showing off? Before Lu Xiaoyu could finish her sarcastic words, it was suppressed by Lu Shuiyu's cold voice. Merely talking about the matter of the high profound class entering the heavenly training force tomorrow. Your little follower is currently envious and jealous. Chapter 303. We are freshmen. You are an old woman who has been in the academy for a few years. What's there to be proud of if you know what kind of place the heavenly training forest is? Lu Xiaoyu gritted her teeth and snorted coldly. Looking at Lu Shuiyu's smug look, the more she looked, the more annoyed she was. She didn't know what she was so proud of. Lu Shuiyu, who was putting on a superior attitude and was ready to explain where the heavenly training forest was, when she heard the three words old woman, her face immediately turned black. Age was a woman's biggest Achilles heel, especially someone like Lu Shuiyu, who was already 20 years old. The most intolerable thing was these three words. At 20 years old, in this era, she was probably the mother of a few children. Lu Shuiyu entered the Heavenly Academy at the age of 15 and had been accompanying Si Yanmu for 5 years. Until now, Si Yanmu had no intention to marry her. The people from the Liu family were urging her openly and secretly. These 3 words simply poked at Lu Shuiyu's sore spot. Lu Xiaoyu. Lu Shuiyu's eyes were scarlet red. Her fingers suddenly clenched into a fist. The teacup in her hand suddenly exploded and shattered into pieces. She slammed the table and stood up, the palm wind directly pressed towards Lu Xiaoyu. Lu Xiaoyu had never thought that Lu Shuiyu would dare to directly make a move and immediately did not react. It was Yiqing Luo who tugged her from behind, flipped her hand, and set off a palm wind to meet the attack. The 2 palms met. The strong airflow was undisguised, setting off a huge wave in the dormitory. Everything in the hall was thrown to the ground with a crackling sound. Lu Shuiyu and Yiqing Luo took a step back at the same time. "Qing Luo, you are crazy." Lu Xiaoyu immediately came up and supported Yiqing Luo. The academy does not allow students to fight in private. Just now, both of them had released their profound qi. It would definitely be detected by the profound qi sensing device set up by the academy. And Lu Shuiyu, who was forced to take 2 steps back and finally stood firm. When she heard Lu Xiaoyu's words, she quivered. Lu Shuiyu, who had always been calm and self-controlled, other than Si Yin Mu, nothing could disturb her emotions. He was actually provoked by Lu Xiaoyu's words and made move. Yiqing Luo's eyes were smiling as an enchanting light flowed in her charming eyes. "Vice President, what a coincidence. I happen to know what kind of place the Heavenly Training Forest is." Her index finger brushed a strand of hair on her shoulder as she smiled charmingly. "As the Vice President, you knowingly broke the law. I wonder if you can still participate in the training of your high profound class tomorrow?" "You." Lu Shuiyu's face darkened even more. She was so angry that her whole body trembled. "Just now, you also used your Xin Qi. Do you think you can escape?" "Me? So what?" Yiqing Luo chuckled. "The person who is going to the training forest is not me. Even if I am punished by the academy, it is not a big loss. But it is a rare actual combat training. I am afraid you will not be able to show your strength in front of Si Yanmu." Lu Shuiyu's cold eyes were filled with disbelief. Yiqing Luo had more or less guessed his thoughts. Lu Shuiyue was about to vomit blood. She was an impulsive person, but the minute she saw Lu Xiaoyu, she thought of Yiqing Luo. She just couldn't hold it in. She subconsciously used tomorrow's training forest to ridicule Lu Xiaoyu and Yiqing Luo. But she didn't expect to be slapped in the face by Yiqing Luo. Not only did she know about the training forest, she even forced her to act impulsively. Chapter 304. Footsteps were heard outside the dormitory door. Lu Shuiyu held her breath. The elders had found their way here so quickly. Soon after, accompanied by the crisp sound of a bell, the dormitory door was pushed open. Mo Yuing stuck her head in and stared at Yiqing Luo. "Student Yi, please come over." Lu Shuiyu heaved a sigh of relief. Yiqing Luo patted Lu Xiaoyu's hand lightly and asked her to return to her room to rest, in case Lu Shuiyu vented her anger on her. Staring at Yiqing Luo's departing figure, Lu Shuiyu clenched her fists tightly as she gritted her teeth. Just 2 waist from the waist class, birds of a feather flocked together. Lu Xiaoyu sneered. "If you have the time, why don't you think about how to explain to your dear president that you knowingly broke the law today?" Saying that, she ignored Lu Shuiyu's hateful gaze and walked straight into her room. Following Mo Yuing, they arrived at the devil class. On the training ground, they saw a few students who were training. Walking straight, they stopped in front of the wooden door next to the classroom. Above the wooden door, there was a plaque with strong and vigorous handwriting, written with the words "Class Committee." Looking at the handwriting and the degree of delicacy of the plaque, it should be from Long Yunzhan's hands. Mo Yuing knocked on the door, and a clear voice was heard from inside. "Come in." Mo Yuing pushed the door, and the 2 entered the room. This room, rather than saying it was the class committee, it was more like a library. It wasn't a big room, but there were more than 10 bookshelves displaying various books. At the end of the bookshelf, there was an 8-person square table. Long Yunzhan and the rest of the class committee sat by the side. Seeing Yiqing Luo coming over, Xiao Jin pulled a wooden chair over and gestured for her to sit down. Want to plead for that, teacher? Long Yunzhan looked up indifferently. His azure blue eyes were flowing with a glossy luster. His gaze was as clear as water, without any fluctuation. Being stared at, Yiqing Luo felt a chill down her spine. She pursed her lips and shook her head slowly. It's not pleading. Teacher Gay, you doesn't need any pleading. I just hope you can consider accepting him. Reason. Long Yunzhan spat out 2 words. Yiqing Luo smiled. Because the devil class needs teachers. Xiao Jin frowned. Devil class as the class monitor and us. All these years, we still didn't have a teacher, and we still managed to come this far. Yin Xiao nodded her head. She put away her usual loveliness and replied solemnly. Teacher is a member of the academy after all. Placing someone from the academy in our class will only hinder our training in the future. He is Guiyu. Yiqing Luo's voice was very soft, but it carried an unquestionable charisma, easily suppressing the duo's rebuttal. Her pink lips curled up slightly, her pair of charming eyes calm and clear. I'm sure the class monitor has heard of his name. To be able to be second only to the dean in the academy, it is enough to prove his own strength. I admit, the main reason why Teacher Gay you came to the devil class to teach is because of me, but the bigger reason is because he wants to become a teacher. Saying that, the smile on Yiqing Luo's lips revealed some gentleness. You've put in so much effort for the devil class's students. Don't tell me you're really willing to hide behind others. She didn't believe that these students wanted to be waste for the rest of their lives. Who didn't want to stand in front of everyone openly and tell everyone that they were not waste? However, they couldn't say it out loud. This was the devil class's secret. Everyone's secret. Chapter 305. Yiqing Luo's words made the few of them silent. They had to admit that what she said was right. Long Yunzhan had no intention to keep this secret. He wanted to lead the devil class to become the first class in the academy at the most appropriate time. Guiyu's appearance was indeed an opportunity to bring the devil class out of everyone's sight. But who in the academy did not know of Guiyu's reputation? The news of him coming to teach in the devil class would definitely spread throughout the academy. Then wouldn't the devil class be exposed before it matured? This could easily lead to the academy forcefully allocating these students to other classes. Although you are able to guide the students and are respected by them, but the class monitor and the masters are not the same. Yiqing Luo smiled again. Previously, they would chase away the masters sent by the academy because they are unable to acknowledge that those masters have the ability to guide them. The masters were proud and arrogant, and there was competition between them. He wanted to raise his status by teaching outstanding students. No one was willing to teach the devil class. The masters looked down on the devil class. These students naturally looked down on those masters too. But Guiyu is different. Yiqing Luo's slender fingertips gently stroked the profound phoenix ring on her finger. Don't worry about his status. There is no reason for him to compete with the other masters for results. Immediately, her fingers paused beside the ring. Her fair fingers, when contrasted with the ring that was emitting a red flowing light, appeared exceptionally bewitching. Guiyu's ability is enough to shock the students. Yiqing Luo's eyes curved deeper. Her smile became wider. Moreover, it is undeniable that deep in the hearts of the students, they still yearn for a master to teach. Isn't it? Showing one's ability in front of the class monitor and showing one's ability in front of the masters, this state of mind was completely different. Just like showing one's skills to one's companions or friends, and showing one's skills in front of the elders were completely different. To obtain the elders' recognition and praise, it was as if one had already surpassed the elders. These students, who would want others to mention the devil class, with an attitude of, so it's the class that no masters are willing to teach, or something like that. Long Yunzhan narrowed his azure blue eyes slightly. The hand that was propping up his chin moved slightly. The others looked at each other in dismay. From the other party's eyes, she could tell that he had already been convinced by Yiqing Luo. After a while, Beiming Lu frowned slightly, Student Yi, what you said, we admit your thoughts are indeed very good. But after all, these are just your thoughts. If Teacher Gue you were to inform the dean about the devil class, I'm afraid that devil class I won't. Yiqing Luo replied firmly. I know Teacher Gue Yu's character very well. If he had set his mind on you, in this academy, no matter what happens, he would unconditionally stand on the devil class's side. Old man Gue Yu was extremely protective, and it was obvious that he had some relationship with the academy. Seeing Yiqing Luo so certain, Baiming Lu didn't ask any further. They all looked at Long Yunjian. Long Yunjian's vision was fixated on the profound phoenix ring on Yiqing Luo's fingertip. Only when Yin Xiao, he called out to the class monitor, did he suddenly come back to his senses. The few of them felt strange and looked at the ring on Yiqing Luo's finger. Yiqing Luo was the young matriarch of the Three Springs sect, and she was so powerful, it was normal for her to have a spatial ring in her hands. Chapter 306. Yiqing Luo's eyelids drooped as she gazed at the profound phoenix ring on her fingertips. Long Yunjian shouldn't be staring at the profound phoenix ring. But Yiqing Luo sensed Chi-Chi's restlessness from the pet space as she clasped her hands together and comforted Chi-Chi in her heart, asking it to wait for a while. Gue Yu is indeed a different existence in the academy. I believe in Student Yi. Long Yunjian, who had been silent for a long time, opened his mouth indifferently as his azure blue eyes seemed to be flickering. If you have no objections, then let Gue Yu become devil class's teacher. Xiao Jin's expression could no longer be described as ugly. Even the usually expressionless, puppet-like Mo Ing also widened that pair of lively and adorable big eyes, staring at Long Yunjian in disbelief. Was this still their Sir Class Monitor? Why did it seem as though ever since Yiqing Luo appeared, Sir Class Monitor seemed to have changed into another person? Initially on the first day, when Yiqing Luo just entered the class, Long Yunjian came to Devil Class twice, which made Xiao Jin and the rest secretly guessed. Originally, Xiao Jin was certain that Long Yunjian had feelings for Yiqing Luo. But in the following half a month, Long Yunjian was the same as before, not coming to Devil Class at all. Just at this moment, their hearts were finally put at ease, dispelling the idea of the godly class monitor having mortal heart. But now, it seemed as though they were relieved too early. Xiao Jin and the rest were able to stay by Long Yunjian's side for so many years. Naturally, they weren't fools. By now, how would they not understand that Long Yunjian specially asked Yiqing Luo to give a reason to accept Gue Yu was actually to convince them. Right from the start, Long Yunjian had no intention to reject Yiqing Luo's suggestion. This was simply too inconceivable. I don't agree. I definitely don't agree. Outside the door, a lady's cold voice was heard. The class committee's door was pushed open, and a lady dressed in green and white uniform stood at the entrance. Her expression was icy cold, but her brows were filled with unyielding stubbornness. I only acknowledge class monitor and only listen to his training. Tong Ziqing, who allowed you to barge into the class committee. Xiao Jin's face sunk as he shouted sternly. Tong Ziqing raised her head up high with a calm look. I'm willing to accept the punishment for the crime of trespassing, but as a student of Devil Class, I have the right to raise my opinion. You. Xiao Jin's brows immediately knitted tightly. He naturally saw through Tong Ziqing's thoughts towards Long Yunjian. Just as he was, Yiqing Luo's raised her hand. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up slightly as she placed her palms on the wooden table and stood up slowly. Although she was not as tall as Tong Ziqing, she released a majestic aura when she stood up. Tong Ziqing's heart skipped a beat, and she subconsciously took half a step back. Indeed, every student has the right to voice out their own opinions. Since student Tong has an opinion, I'm all ears. Yiqing Luo gave a bewitching smile. However, that smile made Tong Ziqing's hair stand on end. His throat seemed to be blocked by something, and he couldn't utter a single word for a long time. Tions was teacher from. She. But Luanon, long ling ling lu. A tion tion long long, said. Yi Ching Luo leaned against the wooden chair as she crossed her arms. Student Tong, are you in devil class for your studies or for the class monitor? The moment she said that, the entire room fell into a dead silence. Tong Ziqing's face flushed red. She liked Long Yunjian, and everyone in devil class knew that. However, she had openly revealed this matter in front of Long Yunjian. No matter how noble and elegant she was still a young lady after all. Chapter 307. On the contrary, Long Yunjian's expression was calm, as though the class monitor, which Yiqing Luo mentioned, wasn't him. Tong Ziqing had wanted to take the opportunity to sneak a peek at Long Yunjian's face to see his answer. But as soon as he saw it, his heart turned cold. If it's for the class monitor, even if Yu becomes the teacher of the devil class, the class monitor is still the class monitor of the devil class. You can still cling onto the class monitor and pester him every day. Yiqing Luo didn't seem to notice the strange atmosphere as she continued talking, her brows slightly raised, her charming eyes revealing a teasing look. If it's for learning, having Yu as a teacher is naturally beneficial to you. So, do you have any other opinions? Her words caused Tong Ziqing's face to turn red. She clenched her fists tightly, and her entire body trembled. Fortunately, Tong Ziqing had a strong mental fortitude. If it were any other woman, she would have covered her face and left in tears. She forcefully suppressed the surging anger within her, controlling her own emotions as her icy cold, beautiful eyes stared icily at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo, someone like you is totally not fit to be in the class committee. Tong Ziqing. Xiao Jin shouted in a low voice when he saw the two of them quarreling in public. He walked forward to take Tong Ziqing away. Tong Ziqing forcefully pushed Xiao Jin away as a trace of viciousness surfaced on her cold and beautiful face. Yiqing Luo, do you feel that you're very great? You are very proud of helping that trash and I Rupin advance, right? But do you know that this kind of sympathy of yours is totally not needed in the devil class? Yiqing Luo scoffed softly as she glanced at Tong Ziqing with a smile that didn't look like a smile. This gaze caused the anger in Tong Ziqing's heart to rise to its peak. Don't always think of yourself as the savior of the world. And I Rupin need your help, but I don't. For someone like an I Rupin, even if she graduates from the academy, she'll only be a burden to others and drag them down in the world of martial arts. Your kindness today will cause the death of others. The more Tong Ziqing said, the more ridiculous she felt Yiqing Luo was. Not only did he want to help Ni Ruo Pan, he also wanted to help Yu enter the devil class. Did Yiqing Luo really felt that she had this ability? Pooh! After Tong Ziqing roared, her chest heaved up and down as she panted heavily. Her secret of liking Long Yunjian had already been exposed by Yiqing Luo in public, so she didn't intend to keep any face at all. Today, she would never agree to let Yu enter the devil class. Unexpectedly, after Tong Ziqing finished howling, Yiqing Luo laughed softly. Her eyes were filled with mockery, and her pink lips curled into a smile filled with disdain. Foolish. Two clear words spilled out from Yiqing Luo's pink lips. Tong Ziqing's face turned ashen. As for Xiao Jin, who went up to stop them, he stared at Yiqing Luo in astonishment, as though she had not expected Yiqing Luo to ridicule Tong Ziqing without giving her any face. Actually, Xiao Jin and the rest also greatly approved of Tong Ziqing's words in their hearts. Otherwise, he wouldn't have allowed his students to bully an I Rupin. To them, they were weak to begin with. If they didn't think about improving themselves, then they should be prepared to be abandoned. Because it wasn't that they didn't give the weak a chance, but Ni Rupin herself didn't need this chance. But after Yiqing Luo came to devil class, she stood up for Ni Rupin time and time again, even attempting to change Ni Rupin. Chapter 308. Number 1. Yiqing Luo raised one finger as her half-squinted eyes flashed a trace of ridicule. No matter if you are willing or not, Master Guiyu is the teacher that the academy had arranged to teach in the devil class. As a student, you can only listen obediently. She paused for a moment as her pink lips curled slightly. Of course, you could try to gather your classmates and use the same method to deal with those teachers in the devil class to deal with Master Guiyu. If you're able to successfully force Master Guiyu to retreat, Yi Qing Luo, will be the first to submit to you. Tong Ziqing clenched her fists tightly as her expression turned sinister. Yi Qing Luo's words were obviously intentional. Guiyu was the exception in this academy, as his ability was unfathomable. Especially that day at the training ground, she saw Guiyu smashing the second courtyard door with one palm, which showed how bad his temper was. If she used the same old method to deal with Guiyu, she would probably lose her life. Don't dare. Yi Qing Luo saw the anger in Tong Ziqing's eyes as she sneered. If you are afraid, don't have the courage. Then be like a tortoise and hide your head. Yi Qing Luo put up 2 fingers tightly. Number 2, I am willing to help an I Ruo Pan. That is my matter. Your ignorance has nothing to do with me. She lowered her hand, and her resolute gaze swept across everyone in the room. You think that the weak are dragging others down and deserve to be abandoned. But have you ever thought that no matter how weak the weak are, they're still your comrades? Tong Ziqing was stunned. Long Yunzhan's azure blue eyes started to fluctuate faintly. What is the reason why you want to become stronger? To stand at the peak of your life? To have a better reputation? To act cool and slap faces everywhere you go? Or to show off to others how strong you are? Tong Ziqing didn't answer as she bit her lower lip tightly, unable to respond to Yi Qing Luo's question. Yi Qing Luo's gaze fell onto Qiao Jin. However, those few avoided her gaze, unwilling to answer. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curled slightly as she continued. I am doing this to survive in this world, to protect those people whom I care about. A person who can't even find a reason to become stronger. Is there any meaning in becoming stronger brainlessly? Tong Ziqing hung her head in shame, her fingers clenching her sleeves tightly. Most importantly, when a person embarks on the path to becoming a powerhouse, they cannot do without a team and companions around them. Yi Qing Luo's gaze was fiery as she looked straight at Long Yunzhan. Class Monitor had trained Devil Class's students to such a strong state, but in their hearts, the only one they submit to is the Class Monitor and the class committee members. But if we're talking about unity, I'm sure you can feel it. These people can fight together over small matters, but when it comes to matters of life and death, they all stay away from each other. Without waiting for Long Yunzhan to speak, Yin Xiaoyi blinked her bright eyes and clapped her hands. Yes, you're absolutely right. You've only been in the Devil class for half a month. How can you tell? The first day, Yi Qing Luo replied indifferently. If the class was really united, and I Rupin wouldn't have been bullied. These students, because they were once trash, have been injured by others. Other than herself, other than Long Yunzhan and the class committee members who had saved them from hell, they were unable to sincerely accept anyone else. However, a large part of the reason was also because Qiao Jin and the rest were people who were used to being alone. Chapter 309. Think about it. In this world, who can stir up a storm by himself? Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a smile. Even if it's the Overlord, he has the Imperial Palace behind him as a solid backing. Then what about you? Yi Qing Luo threw out another question. If anything happens to you, as your companions, Devil Class's students, will they risk their lives to help you? Xiao Jin and the rest remained silent. This question was hard to answer. Currently, Devil Class had never met with any especially dangerous incidents. From the looks of it, these students were extremely respectful towards them. But if it really came to a life and death juncture, would they sacrifice themselves to save them? Yes, we will. Tong Ziqing looked at Long Yunzhan in a daze. We will. We are Devil Class's students. We are each other's companions. If something happens to the class monitor, I will be the first to rush up. Yi Qing Luo sneered. Don't be too serious about double standards. Previously you said that I can't represent Devil Class's thoughts and accept Teacher Guayu. Then on what basis do you represent Devil Class's students? To answer this question, Tong Ziqing was stuffed speechless. Yiqing Luo then returned to the study table and sat down again, looking straight at Long Yunjian opposite her. A person, if he has a strong backing, has enough trust, and is able to leave his back to the other party's companion, he will definitely be able to stand at the top of the world. So, I will not give up on any companion who has hope. The past her was like this, totally not like a human, but a flesh and blood, but a machine without a heart. What she lacked was a companion whom she could trust. If she had trained her own companion right from the start, then she wouldn't have been schemed against by that bunch of old men that day. Clap, clap, clap. A burst of crisp applause reverberated in the silent room. Long Yunjian laughed softly. Well said. Well said. He stood up, and his blue luxurious robe followed his movement, as it was like an extremely shallow water wave pouring down in torrents. It complemented that elegant face, as handsome as the flowing snow in the wind. That's right. The most important thing for a person is not his own battle ability, but the ability to display his strength together with his companions. Long Yunjian's eyes shone slightly. Have you heard of 3 evils? The few of them immediately nodded. When Yiqing Luo heard this name, her eyelids twitched. She remembered that on the day she entered the academy, she was almost assassinated by 3 people at the back door of the academy. It was also there that she met Mo Yuing. Mo Yuing told her that the 3 people who tried to assassinate her were the 3 evil spirits of Godless Island. She didn't really believe it. At this moment, hearing Long Yunjian mention it, for some reason, the faces of those 3 people subconsciously appeared in his mind. When the 3 of them combine, no one can gain the upper hand against them. It is said that the 3 of them even fought to a draw with the Overlord. Yin Xiao Yi told them all the information that she knew. The 3 evils are rumored to be triplets. Their telepathy is extremely strong, and all of their movements and moves are exactly the same. It's like looking into a mirror. Biming Lulu propped up her chin and said with interest. Long Yunjian nodded slowly. The reason why they're strong is because they use the power of the team extremely well. If the 3 of them were separated, they would be easy to deal with. But if the 3 of them were together, they would be extremely difficult to deal with. Recalling the rumors of the 3 evil spirits and linking it to Yiqing Luo's words. Chapter 310. Since no one has any objections, then tomorrow I will let Teacher Guayu participate in the actual combat training, so that Teacher Guayu can take a look at each student's aptitude and prescribe the right medicine. Yiqing Luo took the opportunity to raise her own opinion. Letting Guayu join in the actual combat training was the best opportunity for Guayu and the students to interact. She believed that no matter how irascible Guayu's temper was in Devil Class, he would definitely become the best teacher, because a person's eyes would never lie. When Guayu came, his gaze towards these students was very sincere and clean. Especially, Guayu was obviously powerful, but for so many years, he was willing to stay in Heavenly Academy, becoming a crazy old man. It could be seen that he had feelings towards the academy. It wasn't that Guayu didn't want to teach the class, but there wasn't a suitable class, no class which was worth moving him. Guayu was Devil Class's opportunity. In other words, Devil Class was also Guayu's opportunity. Xiao Jin and the rest shifted their gazes towards Long Yunjian. They wanted to reject, but couldn't find any excuse to refute. What Yiqing Luo said was very reasonable. They had already been convinced by Yiqing Luo's words. No matter how powerful one person was, he would not be able to defeat a team. Only by being in sync and in harmony to be able to leave their backs to each other's comrades and team would they be able to stand at the top of the world. Take the simplest example. In this Devil Class, the class committee members were each other's backing. That was why they were able to train this bunch of self-abased and cowardly students to today's standard. Xiao Jin squinted his eyes slightly as he gazed at Yiqing Luo's gaze with some profound meaning. But in the half a month's time in Devil Class, Yiqing Luo had easily seen through the problems in Devil class. Her insight was really extraordinary. Even Tong Ziqing's expression, which was originally a mixture of green and red, had gradually changed. Tong Ziqing stared at Yiqing Luo, as her eyes no longer had the coldness and disdain from earlier. There was only unwillingness. She was unresigned to what Yiqing Luo said, as she had no words to refute. She was unresigned that Yiqing Luo could see through everything so thoroughly and had successfully convinced the class committee, and even herself. She was unresigned that her pride had been turned into dregs by Yiqing Luo. But no matter how unwilling they had no choice but to admit that Yiqing Luo indeed had the qualifications to become a class committee member. I have no objections. Tong Ziqing gritted her teeth and clenched her fists. Before she turned to leave, she turned her head back and stared at Long Yunjian in a daze. However, Long Yunjian sat there with a calm expression, as if he didn't notice her existence at all. Tong Ziqing pursed her red lips, closed the door, and strode away. Student Yi, don't be calculative with Ziqing. That lass's nature isn't bad. It's just that she's used to being arrogant, and now she can't lower her pride to acknowledge you. In her heart, she has long treated you as a student of the Devil class. Xiao Jin saw the awkward atmosphere and laughed dryly to ease the atmosphere. Yiqing Luo shook her head as her lips curled. I know. She did not blame Tong Ziqing. In the Devil class, Tong Ziqing had always been worshipped as Goddess Tong, and she had always admired Long Yunjian. The minute Yiqing Luo appeared, she attracted Long Yunjian's attention and directly became a member of the class committee. The arrogant Tong Ziqing naturally felt that her face had been slapped resoundingly. As long as one was human, there would be jealousy in their hearts. This was human nature. Student Yi, do you have time? Chapter 3:11. Coincidentally, I also have something to tell you in private. Yiqing Luo smiled calmly. However, the two of them had a frank expression on their faces, as if they were discussing something with their companions. But in the eyes of Xiao Jin and the others, no matter how they looked at it, it felt ambiguous. Are these two going to spend time alone and express their feelings to each other? This thought caused the faces of Xiao Jin and the others to instantly become a riot of colors. Class monitor, are you sure? Yin Xiao blinked her watery eyes, her face filled with disbelief. I feel that it's better for us to be present. We can also avoid awkwardness. Don't you guys agree? Xiao Jin coughed lightly and said with a chuckle. Biming Lulu nodded in agreement. Get out. Long Yunjian's vision was fixed on Yiqing Luo, not shifting away at all, but that clear voice was still full of majesty. They looked at each other in dismay. After a moment of silence, they pushed each other and left. Xiao Jin had just closed the door when Long Yunjian said, Go back to where you should go. Outside the door came the sound of several heavy objects falling to the ground, mixed with Xiao Jin's muffled groans. Shortly after, the sound of their footsteps gradually faded into the distance. The room fell into silence. Yiqing Luo's eyes were calm as she exchanged glances with Long Yunjian. No one was the first to break this peace. Perhaps it had been quiet for a long time. Long Yunjian's elegant brows creased slightly as his azure blue eyes fell from Yiqing Luo's face to Yiqing Luo's arms. There's a strange smell on your body that's very attractive to me. His eyes narrowed slightly as he slowly stood up and placed both his hands on the 8-square table as his body bent down towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Yiqing Luo did not evade. Their eyes didn't move away from each other. The two of them got closer and closer. Yiqing Luo vaguely sensed a cool breeze coming from somewhere. It was Win's aura. Yiqing Luo stared at the approaching handsome face as she blinked her eyes. Could Ah Feng have misunderstood that there was something going on between her and Long Yunjian? She and Long Yunjian were innocent. The reason why she didn't avoid it was because she and Long Yunjian had the same goal in their hearts. But even if these words were explained to Wind, asking him not to spout nonsense in front of DMO Xian, Wind probably wouldn't listen. He was about to push Long Yunjian away to prevent off-phone from thinking deeper. Long Yunjian had already stopped bending down. His head stopped right in front of Yiqing Luo as his nose sniffed lightly. Have we known each other before? I don't know him. Yiqing Luo answered without hesitation, flipped her palm, and pulled out the restless Chi-Chi. But I think it should know you. Chi-Chi, whose fur was entirely white, shook its body as it nestled in Yiqing Luo's palm, widening its tiger eyes as it stared at Long Yunjian without blinking. What a familiar smell. Chi-Chi's nose twitched, and its little paws moved forward. His small body had already jumped onto Long Yunjian's shoulder, sticking out his tongue and licking his body lightly. When Long Yunjian saw Chi-Chi, he was completely stunned. His azure blue eyes were masked with a layer of hazy and unreal emotions. He allowed Chi-Chi to walk back and forth on his shoulder, allowing Chi-Chi's furry fur to brush past his face. Right, this is the smell. Long Yunjian's voice was extremely soft. You're a sacred beast. This is the smell of a sacred beast. Ah, Chi-Chi moaned softly, as though it was responding to Long Yunjian's words. Chapter 312. Chi-Chi nodded, and with a leap, landed on the square table. It sat up straight and raised its small tiger head. Its pitch-black eyes reflected Long Yunjian's figure. Long Yunjian's expression instantly turned grave when he heard this. His 5 fingers, which were placed on the table, clenched tightly. His usually calm blue eyes revealed a trace of biting cold. Yiqing Luo, who was standing by the side, was totally dumbstruck. Although she had signed a contract with Mu Chi-Chi, and they had reached the level of physical and mental compatibility, Mu Chi-Chi was not a match for Mu Chi-Chi. However, she still could not understand the beast language that Chi-Chi was speaking. But why could Long Yunjian understand? Moreover, he could communicate with Mu Chi-Chi smoothly. Could it be that he understood the language of beasts? Wait, that's not right. Long Yunjian had said that she had a very strange smell on her that attracted him. That scent must be Chi-Chi's scent. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she gazed at Long Yunjian, who was staring at Chi-Chi without blinking, with a sincere attitude. A bold conjecture suddenly popped up in his mind. After forming a contract with Chi-Chi, she was tainted with the aura of a saint beast. That was why Long Yunjian was attracted to her. Just like back then, when that high-level mirage beast saw Shiju's mother, it didn't dare to act rashly because of the sacred beast aura on her. In other words, Long Yunjian. Outside the door, there was a sudden sound of footsteps followed by Qiao Jin's voice. Class monitor, classmate Yi, someone from the faculty council is here. Faculty council? Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly. It was probably because of the fight between her and Lu Shuiyu in the dormitory. His movements were quite fast. Yiqing Luo got up and left Chi-Chi behind as she followed Qiao Jin towards the outer boundary of Devil Class. You, in class monitor, Qiao Jin's gaze wandered around Yiqing Luo's face as his face was filled with curiosity. You think too much. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes as she interrupted Qiao Jin's wild imagination. If you have a heart to gossip, why don't you think about tomorrow's actual combat training on how to let the students obtain the greatest improvement in actual combat training? Saying that, Yiqing Luo added another sentence. At this time, we can also take the opportunity to train the students' enthusiasm towards group battles. Qiao Jin nodded his head. He also had this thought. Yiqing Luo's idea of team and companions was exactly what the Devil Class lacked. It was indeed time for them to take action, using the method of nurturing team battles to let the students of Devil Class understand what a team was and what comrades were. Previously, when you entered the training forest, it was based on your individual ability and performance. This time, you can choose to split into groups and choose the 3 most outstanding groups to be rewarded. Qiao Jin noted down all these suggestions. All right, I'll go with Lulu and the others to visit Teacher Guiyu later. We'll discuss the training rules for tomorrow. As the two of them spoke, they arrived at the desolate outer courtyard. The two of them stepped on the withered branches on the ground, making a crisp creaking sound. Hearing the noise, a member of the faculty council who was standing not far from the devil class with a face full of disgust looked over. The faculty council has been looking for you every other day. What kind of excuse did you come up with this time? Xiao Jin saw the look in the eyes of the two faculty council members, and the corner of his mouth curled into a mocking smile. A private brawl. Xiao Jin slowly gave a thumbs up. You're awesome. The academy had a clear regulation that students were absolutely not allowed to brawl privately. In order to prevent this kind of situation from happening, the academy had specially spent a huge sum of money to install profound chi-sensing objects around the academy. In order to enter the Heavenly Academy, the students had given it their all. If they were chased out of the academy, their entire lives would be completely ruined. Chapter 3:13. I probably won't be able to take part in tomorrow's actual combat training. Yiqing Luo halted her footsteps, helped me arrange Ni Ruo Pan and Tong Ziqing in the same team, and helped me tell them that this is my request. These two, Xiao Jin didn't understand the reason why Yiqing Luo made such an arrangement. Ni Ruo Pan and Tong Ziqing were obviously at loggerheads with each other. Moreover, because of Yiqing Luo's reason, they probably hated each other even more. If these two were to be arranged in the same team, based on Tong Ziqing's usual performance, she would be able to obtain a good result in the actual combat training. But in Ruo Pan's aptitude, that was hard to say. By then, if Tong Ziqing didn't obtain the final victory, she would definitely blame Ni Ruo Pan for dragging her down. The conflict between these two would intensify. It was very likely to strike Ni Ruo Pan's self-esteem, which she had painstakingly built up. Don't belittle Ni Ruo Pan. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Those who don't give up on themselves are the strongest. If she gives up on herself this time, then we don't need to waste time on her in future. Saying that, Yiqing Luo had already started walking out of the devil class's courtyard. At the entrance, there were two faculty council members with an impatient look on their faces. They felt that even getting half a step closer to the devil class would lower their status. Yiqing Luo happened to know one of the faculty council members. Wasn't that the beauty who held her into the faculty council together with Lu Shuiyu without any explanation? The one who was addressed as Lu Fourth Miss by the other faculty council members? At that time, when Lu Shuiyu discovered Wind, who was hiding in the dark, she ordered this Lu Fourth Miss to lure Wind away. After that, she didn't know who won between her and Wind, but to be able to exchange moves with Wind and successfully restrain him. From this, it could be seen that this Lu Fourth Miss ability wasn't weak. Looks like the Academy made the right choice in arranging you into the Waste class. It's only been half a month, and you've already blended into a ball with that bunch of waste. Lu Fourth Miss, Lu Shuiyu's half-sister Lu Shuilan, sneered in disdain. The lady beside her immediately echoed. It can be seen that student Yi is destined to be a waste. Birds of a feather flock together, so waste naturally attracts waste. Lu Shuilan's line of sight shifted to the devil class, to Xiao Jin, who was standing on a withered yellow branch, as she covered her mouth and laughed softly. Then could it be that she found a lover in the trash class? TSK, TSK. Trash and trash, a perfect match. Lu Shuilan's heart was filled with ridicule and disdain. Looking at Xiao Jin's unprepossessing face, he looked like a good-for-nothing, someone who would not be able to accomplish great things. Seeing Yiqing Luo being brought away by them, he actually stood there watching with his eyes wide open. Trash was trash. She really didn't know why her elder sister had suffered losses in front of this useless woman time and time again. Do the people from the faculty council like to talk glibly? Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly as she glanced at them with a smile, which didn't look like a smile. If you call me trash again, be careful that I'll slap you to death with one slap. Another female classmate was stunned by Yiqing Luo's gaze, but the minute she thought that this was her chance to perform well, as long as she performed well, to make Lu Shuilan think highly of her, then she would be able to get a higher position. The female student immediately stood in front of Lu Shuelon. "Don't you dare!" With a pa sound, Yiqing Luo directly threw a slap over. "I even dare to hit your vice president. Do you think I dare or not?" Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a cold smile as she rubbed her slightly burning palm. "Waste? You can't even beat me. What should you be called?" To stop a woman like Lu Shuelon, there was only one way to settle things once and for all. Chapter 314. Lu Shuelan's mocking smile froze on her face. She clenched her sleeves tightly and spat fiercely. "So what if you're powerful? You're still a waste-class student." After that, Lu Shuelon bit her lower lip and gave that female student another slap. "Waste? Useless thing." Although Yiqing Luo's slap didn't land on her face, it was no different from slapping her face. The female student felt wronged and suffered 2 consecutive slaps, but she didn't dare to make a sound. She could only cover her face resentfully and followed behind Lu Shuelon. Yiqing Luo sneered and picked her ears. Finally, it was quiet. The simple and crude method was the most effective. The private fight, as it involved the faculty council's vice president, was handed over to the elder quarters to handle. She followed Lu Shuelon and the female student all the way to the elder quarters. Along the way, they met quite a number of students who greeted Lu Shuelon respectfully and looked at Yiqing Luo strangely. One by one, they were pointing and gossiping about Yiqing Luo, who had been quiet for half a month. What did she do that made the faculty council come looking for her? At this moment, standing on the tall building, a young man dressed in a black long robe squinted his cold eyes slightly, staring at the calm Yiqing Luo below. "Master, it's Miss Yi." A man dressed as an attendant bowed and said respectfully, "Those 2 bottles of medicine, have you sent them over?" The young man's indifferent eyes did not move away from Yiqing Luo. The moment he opened his mouth, his voice was as cold as a frost. The attendant nodded. "Yes, I personally passed it to her. Why didn't she take it?" The young man's expressionless face frowned slightly. That pair of cold and indifferent eyes was suffused with a trace of anger. The attendant stiffened and lowered his head. "I don't know, perhaps. Miss Ye's vigilance is strong. Before knowing who you are, she didn't dare to take the medicine." "Don't know?" The young man's eyes were as calm as still water, eerily cold, strong anger rolling in his eyes. "Don't know. I'd like to see if she knows who I am." The attendant was forced to take a few steps back by that strong aura. This was the first time he saw his usually calm master revealing such an expression. Because of that girl named Yiqing Luo. The gaze the follower gave Yiqing Luo was filled with a deeper meaning. Find out why the faculty council took her away. The young man retracted his gaze and hid the anger in his eyes, returning to his original expressionless face. Elders Department. Yiqing Luo was brought to the main hall, and Lu Shui was already seated on a soft chair by the side, drinking tea and discussing something with Elder Yinxiang. On seeing Yiqing Luo's arrival, the smiles on their faces froze as they stopped their conversation. How was this someone who had broken the rules of the academy and had to be punished with a demerit? It was like drinking tea and talking about life. Student Yi said. Elder Yinxiang stroked his white beard. His eyes curved into crescents as he smiled. Yiqing Luo walked straight to Lu Shuiyu's side and sat down as an attendant immediately served hot tea. Student Yi, I'm sure you're aware of the academy's rules. During the academy period, students are not allowed to fight in private. Elder Yinxiang's face was amiable as he spoke earnestly. The academy sensed that you had a fluctuation of profound qi in the dormitory earlier. Do you have anything to say to me? In a few words, he pushed all the blame onto Yiqing Luo. Chapter 315. Yiqing Luo leaned lazily on the soft chair as she squinted her eyes at Lu Shuiyu. The corner of her mouth curled up into a faintly discernible cold arc as she chuckled. Just one look, and Lu Shuiyu felt a chill down her spine. The hand which was holding the teacup trembled and almost spilled the tea. The smile on Yi-Ching Luo's lips was cold, but it didn't lose its charm. It revealed an eerie cold glint which made one shudder. Lu Shuiyu only felt that her neck seemed to be entangled by a cold, poisonous snake, and her tensed-up heart was almost suffocating. Such a strong aura was so majestic that Lu Shuiyu couldn't suppress it at all. This treacherous atmosphere was in a deadlock. Elder Yin Xiang's words, "Don't tell me that I was bored alone in the dormitory and released my profound qi to hit myself." Yi-Ching Luo's soft and leisurely voice rang out. Her vision seemed to have inadvertently swept past the curtains of the inner hall, and when she touched something, a sly smile flashed past her eyes. Elder Yin Xiang's words were blocked. His face under his white beard darkened a little. He stood up and placed his hand behind his back as he walked slowly to Yi-Ching Luo. There was still a smile on his face, and he had a kind and benevolent look on his face. However, the threatening look in his eyes was extremely strong. Student Yi is a smart person. This is only a small matter. If Student Yi cooperates with the Elder Quarters investigation, I will naturally give you a lighter sentence. Violating the Academy's rules is just a small matter in Elder Yin Xiang's eyes. Yi-Ching Luo pretended to be astonished as she widened her eyes and couldn't help but raised her voice. A few days ago, Vice President kept saying that if one violates the Academy's rules, one should leave the Academy. Although this was the Elder Quarters, and everyone was the Elder's man. But Yi-Ching Luo's shout would inevitably be heard by others. If this was spread out, the Elder Quarters' reputation would be tainted. Lu Shuiyu listened by the side, as anger surfaced faintly on her cold face. Then she heard Yi-Ching Luo mention that the last time she found trouble with her, she insisted on violating the Academy's rules, and it was actually used by Yi-Ching Luo to slap her face. Her heart was filled with anger and annoyance, and when she thought of Yi-Ching Jian, who had instigated her previously, she hated her even more. Since I'm here at the Elders' quarters today, there are some things that I should talk to the Elders about. Yi-Ching Luo stood up abruptly, her petite figure, but her aura wasn't small at all. This stance made Elder Yin Xiang, who was originally standing in front of Yi-Ching Luo to threaten her, take a few steps back. He saw Yi-Ching Luo raising her head up high as she spoke in a serious manner. Vice President, as a member of the Faculty Council, knowingly broke the law and even laid hands on her dormitory roommate. If it wasn't for the fact that I took the risk of being recorded as a demerit and blocked from my roommate, I'm afraid today the Academy would not only have broken the Academy's rules, but a life would have been lost. You're talking nonsense. Lu Shuiyu couldn't take it anymore. She slammed the table and stood up. I'm spouting nonsense? Isn't it all about evidence? Material evidence is something that can sense your xian qi. It can sense the fluctuation of your xian qi. As for the witness, it's that roommate who was almost seriously injured by you. Yi-Ching Luo shrugged her shoulders and said word by word. I used my profound qi, I admit it, but it wasn't a private brawl. She paused for a moment, and her leisurely voice had a hint of a smile. If I had a brawl, I'm afraid Vice President wouldn't be able to sit here anymore. Provocation. This was simply a naked provocation. Lu Shuiyu's face was burning hot as the anger in her chest surged to her head, feeling that her lungs were about to explode. Chapter 316. Yi-Ching Luo smiled lightly. Why? Do you want to make a move in front of Elder Yin Xiang? Just as she finished her words, Lu Shuiyu's raised hand was locked by Elder Yin Xiang. Vice President. Elder Yin Xiang used a little strength and pressed Lu Shuiyu back to the chair. Students should get along peacefully. At this moment, if Elder Yin Xiang wanted to help Lu Shuiyu to clear her name, it would be impossible. Yi-Ching Luo had this idea. From the previous allocation of classes, Yi-Ching Luo could tell that Elder Yin Xiang should be standing on the Faculty Council's side. She was allocated to the Devil class, and it was definitely related to Elder Yin Xiang. This time, Elder Yin Xiang still wanted to use this to threaten her to take on this matter alone. If it was other students, they might have succumbed under the prestige of the Elder and Faculty Council. But Yiqing Luo was not others. She didn't put Lu Shuiyu in her eyes at all. Yiqing Luo had deduced that the most serious consequence of this matter was to record a demerit. But to Lu Shuiyu, it wasn't just a demerit issue. Tomorrow's Heavenly Training Forest actual combat training was the time for her to showcase her skills as the Faculty Council's vice president. If the Faculty Council could get the top 3, it would definitely raise the Faculty Council's prestige. Once Lu Shuiyu was recorded, she would not be able to participate in the actual combat training tomorrow. She would also lose the chance to bring glory to Simu Yan. If it was serious, it might even cause Simu Yan's disgust and be demoted. Such a good opportunity. How could Yiqing Luo give it up? Trying to clear Lu Shuiyu's name? Yiqing Luo deliberately provoked Lu Shuiyu to lose control in front of Elder Yunxiang and unleashed her profound qi in an attempt to make a move on her. Even if Lu Shuiyu's palm strike was stopped by Elder Yunxiang, it was absolutely impossible to draw a clear line between them. Student Yi. After Elder Yunxiang appeased Lu Shuiyu, he turned his head and looked at Yiqing Luo. Between his brows, there was a layer of faint hostility. You'd better think carefully. If the announcement is made, it will be a demerit and your status in the academy will be ruined. Yiqing Luo heard the threat in Elder Yunxiang's words, but she didn't take it to heart. When the elder arranged me into the devil class, didn't he already decide to destroy me? Yiqing Luo sneered lightly as she raised her eyes in ridicule, looking straight at Elder Yunxiang's threatening gaze. Elder Yunxiang's face darkened, and he squinted his sinister eyes. I do not have the right to assign classes. If Student Yi has any questions about the assignment, you can look for the dean. Moreover, the assignment of classes and this matter are two different things. Yiqing Luo covered her mouth as she laughed softly. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw that the figure was still there behind the curtain of the inner hall. The smile in his eyes deepened. Elder Yunxiang is too biased. Elder Yunxiang snorted coldly. All in all, it's my duty as a student. I've already told you everything that needs to be said. If Elder Yunxiang insists on making me the scapegoat, I advise you to give up on this idea. Yiqing Luo finished her words and stood up, preparing to leave. Elder Yunxiang shouted angrily. Who allowed you to leave? A student who has violated the academy's regulations and still wants to go against your superiors. Do you really think the elder quarters exists in name only? Four attendants scurried into the hall and blocked Yiqing Luo. Let her leave. Suddenly, a dignified voice was heard from the inner hall. The inner hall's curtain was lifted by a hand, and an elderly man dressed in elder's attire was seen strolling in. Chapter 317. When Elder Yunxiang saw the old man, he was terrified. He lowered his head and cupped his fists. Great Elder. Great Elder? Yiqing Luo had seen in the booklet that there were a total of 15 elders in the elder quarters. However, there were only 7 who held power in the academy. Elder Yunxiang was ranked second. Great Elder Yunduan was not here, so Yunxiang was the leader. As for the other elders, they either went to the other super monasteries to help out or to travel around to promote the academy. As for this first elder, he was one of the more mysterious ones among the elders. Yiqing Luo initially sensed that there was someone behind the curtain, but she didn't expect that it would be Elder Yunduan behind the curtain. At this point, I have already investigated clearly. Student Yi did not do anything wrong. Elder Yunduan's line of sight shifted from Yiqing Luo to Lu Shuiyu. Everything that happened just now, I saw it clearly from behind the curtains. Lu Shuiyu's complexion turned pale as she knelt in front of Elder Yunduan. She had been in the academy for 5 years, so she knew Yunduan's identity. Even if it was Yunxiang, in front of the great elder, he had to show some respect. If Elder Yunduan had been behind the curtains all along, then, earlier when she was infuriated and tried to hit Yiqing Luo, but was stopped by Yunxiang, he had seen everything clearly, to the extent that Elder Yunxiang's threat towards Yiqing Luo was heard clearly. The more she thought about it, the more Lu Shuiyu broke out in cold sweat. In the academy, she had always been at the top, surrounded by the stars. other than her own methods and abilities. It was also because of her identity as the vice president and Yun Xiang's support. But she didn't understand Elder Yun Duan, and from the looks of it, Yun Duan was standing on Yiqing Luo's side. As the vice president of the faculty council, you knowingly broke the law and even colluded with the Elder Council in an attempt to cover up your mistakes and push the blame onto innocent students. You are a disgrace to the academy. Elder Yun Duan coldly snorted, his gaze full of dignity. From now on, student Lu Shui, you will temporarily stop all of her duties as vice president, and student Lu Shuelan will take over. Student Lu Shui, you will be given a major demerit, and the entire academy will announce this as a warning to others. When Lu Shui received the news that she would be suspended from her position as vice president, she froze on the ground with her eyes wide open. She was usually cold and aloof, but now she looked battered and exhausted. To Lu Shui, recording a demerit or reporting it to the police was not important. Most importantly, she was suspended from her duties. She did not have the right to step into the faculty council, which meant that she could not CC Yin Mu. Great Elder, I know I'm wrong. I'm willing to record demerits, no matter how many demerits I have, as long as you don't suspend me from my duties. Even if I'm not the vice president, I can still be a small member of the faculty council. Yin Duan's face was cold as he glanced at Lu Shui on the ground. He didn't have the slightest bit of tenderness for the fairer sex. Men, take Lu Shui away and make an announcement to the entire academy. Before Lu Shui could resist, several attendants had already dragged Lu Shui out of the elder quarters. Then, Yin Duan glanced at Yun Xiang coldly. Yun Xiang's body stiffened. He lowered his head and did not dare to make a sound. He had covered up for Lu Shui and threatened a student. Even if he was caught red-handed by the first elder, there was nothing he could say. However, while Yun Xiang was on tenterhooks, Yin Duan did not continue to announce his punishment, but looked towards Yiqing Luo. Student Yi, this matter is due to the negligence of the elder quarters and almost caused Student Yi to be wronged. I represent the elder quarters to apologize to Student Yi. Yiqing Luo's charming eyes flashed a glimmer of light, her pink lips slightly hooked up. With such a fair and strict elder like the first elder, I can rest assured. Chapter 3:18. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly as she heard the cautiousness in Yun Duan's tone. Was Yun Duan asking for her opinion? It should be impossible. Yiqing Luo threw this thought to the back of her head and nodded slightly. I will listen to the great elder's arrangements. Yin Duan stroked his white beard and glanced sideways at Yun Xiang, who was standing stiffly at the side with a hint of displeasure in his eyes. Student Yi, you must be frightened. Go back and rest first. The elder quarters will take action to apologize to you another day. Yiqing Luo was a tactful person. As the great elder of the elder quarters, Yin Duan would naturally not use his own people as an example. And Lu Shui had become the tool that Yin Duan used to block the knife for Yun Xiang. Yin Duan punished Lu Shui and asked if Yiqing Luo was satisfied. This was a chance for Yiqing Luo to step down. Yiqing Luo was not one to take advantage of others, so she bowed slightly to Yin Duan and immediately left the hall. As soon as she stepped out of the hall, her ears twitched and she heard Yin Duan's voice. Don't just stand there and reflect on your actions. You'll stay in Yunxiang Courtyard for the next few days and reflect on your mistakes. You'll be able to give Student Yi an explanation. Great Elder, she is just a freshman. She is indeed just a freshman. Yin Duan interrupted Yun Xiang's words, but you cannot afford to offend this freshman. Stay away from her and don't involve the elder quarters. If it happens again, even I will not be able to protect you. I have investigated her background. Other than knowing the Overlord, there is nothing special. Yin Xiang could hear the seriousness in Yin Duan's tone, and his tone became dignified. What's more, this freshman is someone that the higher-ups are keeping a close eye on. Before he could finish his words, he was stopped by Yin Duan. Yiqing Luo could not stop her footsteps as she was surrounded by attendants. As she gradually left the elder quarters, no matter how sensitive her ears were, Yin Duan's voice became softer and softer. She could vaguely hear a few words. Other than the Overlord, she has another backing. After that, she could not hear anything else. Yiqing Luo caught hold of a crucial name. She vaguely heard the Overlord and Master Chu. Young Master Chu? Yiqing Luo subconsciously thought of the attendant who came to deliver the pills that day. The person he mentioned was also Master Zhu. Could it be that the reason why Yinduan appeared, stood on her side unconditionally, and punished Lu Shuiyu without a second word, was because of that young Master Chu? Young Master Zhu, who could it be? Yiqing Luo was extremely puzzled. She dug out all the memories in her mind, but still couldn't find any man with the surname Chu. When he returned to the dormitory, Lu Xiaoyu was anxiously pacing back and forth in the hall. On seeing Yiqing Luo's return, he immediately pounced forward and hugged her. You're finally back. I heard that you were brought to the elders' quarters by the faculty council, and I anxiously went to look for Master Guiyu. But after searching for so many places, I still couldn't find Master Guiyu. I was so anxious. Yiqing Luo patted Lu Xiaoyu's back gently and comforted her with a few words. Then he explained the appearance of Cloudy Cloud, as well as Cloudy Cloud's punishment for Lu Shuiyu. As Lu Xiaoyu listened, her eyes widened and her mouth opened wide in disbelief. You're saying that Lu Shuiyu has been stripped of her position as vice president? Seeing Yiqing Luo nodding, Lu Xiaoyu couldn't help but laugh out loud. Haha, let's see if she still has the capital to be arrogant in the future. Wasn't Lu Shuiyu arrogant because of her position as vice president? Chapter 319. Yiqing Luo smiled and reached out to rub Lu Xiaoyu's head. Don't put your mind on her for the time being. Train and learn well. Tomorrow is the actual combat training for the High Profound class. It should be your intermediate profound classes' turn in another half a month. Strive to achieve a good result by then. The two of them chatted for a while, and Yiqing Luo returned to her room, ready to have a good rest and conserve her energy. Yin Duan only punished Lu Shuiyu, and she got out unscathed. She would be able to participate in the actual combat training tomorrow. Stretching her waist as she walked into the room, the sandalwood scent made Yiqing Luo's body stiffen. She immediately closed the door. The uniform that she had changed out of was washed clean once again and hung on the wooden rack. And on her bed lay a tall man in purple. Sleeping Beauty. These three words popped out in Yiqing Luo's mind as her eyes overflowed with a sweet smile. DMO Xian's eyes were closed as if he was in deep sleep. He didn't even notice Yiqing Luo's approach. In his deep sleep, his thick eyelashes cast a beautiful arc under his eyelids, making that peerless face look extremely gentle, making one couldn't help but want to get close to him. In fact, Yiqing Luo really followed her heart's desire and did so. She quietly lay on the side of the bed, staring at DMO Xian's sleeping face, stretched out her slender fingers, and drew his outline in the air. A man with an outstanding appearance, no matter when, would always have a different kind of charm, just like the current DMO Xian, who was obviously in deep sleep. But there was a charm that made her heart beat faster and wanted to get close to him. Was he too tired? After washing her clothes, he fell asleep on the bed. Yiqing Luo's fingers gently touched his face. Her gaze swept across the wrinkles between his brows, across his tall nose, and finally stopped on his pale lips. As if she was bewitched, Yiqing Luo's body slowly leaned forward and pressed her lips on DMO Xian's lips. The man's elegant sandalwood scent drowned her in an instant. Little Luo actually sneak attacked. A low laugh overflowed from the lips of the two. Not waiting for Yiqing Luo to hurriedly get up, DMO Xian's long arm had already wrapped around her waist, and with a little force, Yiqing Luo fell into his arms. I didn't expect you to be this kind of little Luo. DMO Xian's long and narrow peach blossom eyes narrowed into a demonic arc as he flipped over and pinned Yiqing Luo beneath him. His hair scattered softly on Yiqing Luo's face. The feeling of being caught red-handed after doing something bad made Yiqing Luo's cheeks flush red. She struggled to avoid Dmo Xian's hand, unwilling to look at his face. Her flat abdomen was attached to a wide and thick palm. Dmo Xian's body was even more attached to Yi Qing Luo. You dare to do it, but don't dare to admit it. Dmo Xian caught hold of her hand that was pushing him away, as his scorching breath blew onto her ear. You did it on purpose. How could there be such a coincidence? She had just stolen a kiss, and Dmo Xian woke up. Dmo Xian laughed lowly, and that laughter was extremely bewitching, like a feather tickling Yi Qing Luo's heart bit by bit. All right, I did steal a kiss from you. I dare to admit it. Yi Qing Luo couldn't take it anymore as she pulled the man's hand. Now can you let go of me? This man simply couldn't be any more tempting. That peerless face was exactly the type that she liked. The extremely bewitching voice whispered beside her ear, and her mind was already in turmoil, unable to control herself. If this carried on, sooner or later she would be eaten up by Dmo Xian's handsome man-trap. Chapter 320. Evildoer. Yi Qing Luo harumphed in annoyance as she patted the hand on her waist. Dmo Xian's laughter grew louder as his chest pressed against her back. Yi Qing Luo could feel the man's chest vibrating from his laughter. Still laughing, Yi Qing Luo bit her lips as her elbow knocked backwards. She had just moved when Dmo Xian stretched out his hand and grabbed her slender wrist. Yi Qing Luo struggled, but was unable to shake him off, so she could only let him grab her. Why are you here? Recently, Dmo Xian had been running to the academy a little too frequently. Could it be that the Imperial Palace didn't need him to handle the affairs? If I don't come, Lil Luo will run away with someone else. Dmo Xian tightened his arms as his tone was obviously filled with displeasure. Looks like there are too many people who admire Lil Luo. Who? Dmo Xian lowered his head as his lips pressed onto Yi Qing Luo's fair neck. That Mr. Zhu. His words had just ended when his lips opened and bit onto Yi Qing Luo's neck. Hiss! Yi Qing Luo cried out in pain. I don't even know him. Why did you bite me for? You don't know him, but he will send you medicine and settle the matter with the elder quarters. Dmo Xian loosened his mouth as his warm breath sprayed onto the place where she was bitten. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips as she endured the shivering feeling and turned her head over angrily as she stared at Dmo Xian. How would I know? She stretched out her hand as she pinched Dmo Xian's cheek and pinched it fiercely. You have so little confidence in yourself that you don't trust me? Dmo Xian didn't say a word as his large palm covered her head and pressed her into his arms as his arms wrapped around her tightly. Yi Qing Luo's entire face was plastered onto his chest. The more she struggled, the tighter the man hugged. Yi Qing Luo simply stopped her actions as she buried her head in his arms, listening to his heartbeat. After some time, the man's deep voice floated down from above her head. It's not that I don't trust you, just angry. Why isn't the person who did all these for you me? Yi Qing Luo's heart suddenly softened. A sweet feeling started to spread in her heart. Her lips, which were buried in Dmo Xian's arms, curled into an elegant arc. She stretched out her hand and wrapped it around Dmo Xian's waist. You're the one accompanying me now. That's enough. Yi Qing Luo rubbed her face against his chest in satisfaction. The sandalwood scent on his body made her feel at ease. Dmo Xian cupped her face and gently kissed her forehead before pulling her into his embrace once again. Go to sleep. Do your best for tomorrow's actual combat training. Just as Yi Qing Luo was about to fall asleep, she could vaguely feel the man's palm gently caressing her face. The man's faint sigh resounded in her ears. I still can't accept it. When he woke up again, it was already the second day of the freshman training. She left Chi-Chi at Long Yunzhan's side. Without a professional alarm clock like Chi-Chi, she actually slept for such a long time. Just then, Lu Xiaoyu came to wake her up. After Yi Qing Luo washed up quickly, the two of them walked together to the freshman training grounds. By the time the training for the freshmen was completed, the instructors called for them to disperse, and Yiqing Luo then rushed towards the devil class without stopping. High Profound class students entered the training forest early in the morning after the elder opened the entrance. The students from the devil class should have already sneaked in. When Yiqing Luo rushed to the devil class, Baiming Lu was waiting for her in the classroom. Chapter 321. In the past actual combat training in devil class, it had always been based on individual ability. In other words, all the students who entered the training forest would become their own opponents. Xiao Jin would give each student a wooden token, similar to the Academy's wooden token, which could record the changes of the student's points. On the wooden token, there would be 30 points as the basic points. Killing the magical beasts in the training forest would be able to gain 1 point. The final outcome was to choose the top 3 outstanding students based on the number of points accumulated. In this actual combat training, the cruelest point was they could snatch the opponent's wooden token. Once the snatch was successful, all the opponent's points would be accumulated into the hands of the person who snatched it successfully. But the person whose wooden token was snatched could snatch the other person's wooden token within 1 hour. If it exceeded 1 hour, they would be forcibly chased out of the training forest. And this time round, Xiao Jin and the rest used Yiqing Luo's method. All the students were split into groups of 3, each holding a wooden token. Yiqing Luo listened and nodded her head in interest. 3 people guarding 1 wooden token, snatching another wooden token. This is indeed a good training method. To win, one person's hard work was probably not enough. They had to coordinate well and work hard together to be able to guard their own token and snatch the opponent's token. Tong Ziqing and Ni Ruopan are in the same group. Their expressions seemed a little strange, and I'm worried that they would create a ruckus, so I'll let Xiao Yi be in the same group as them, just in case. Baiming Lu added. Yiqing Luo nodded. Based on Tong Ziqing's character, it would indeed be better with Yin Xiao Yi around. The 2 of them took a long detour until they reached the rear mountain of the heavenly training forest. Baiming Lu felt around a certain mountain wall for some time, and the ground started to vibrate. The mountain wall in front of them was split into 2, revealing a long secret passage. This is the passage to the training forest, but usually it is sealed by the enchantment. We can only enter after the elder opens the entrance. Baiming Lu took the lead and walked into the secret passage. Yiqing Luo followed closely behind. She was thinking that after the elder opened the entrance to the training forest, the High Profound class's masters and elders would be guarding the entrance. Then how should they sneak into the training forest? She had not expected that there was such a secret passage at the rear mountain of the training forest. I just finished the instructor's freshman training, so I'm late. Are there any groups? As for the heavenly training forest, Yiqing Luo was eager to give it a try. Baiming Lu spread out her hand and took out a wooden token and handed it over. The class monitor said that you each have a wooden token. Yiqing Luo received the wooden token and looked at the 30 points displayed above. The corners of her mouth twitched. Not only did he not return her chi, he even wanted her to fight a 1v3. Did Long Yunjian believe in her strength too much, or was he purposely messing with her? That's right. Master Gay, you also took the wooden token and entered the training forest, saying that he wanted to nurture his relationship with the students. Baiming Lu didn't feel the turbulent waves in Yiqing Luo's heart as she continued. Teacher Guiyu, was there need to go so far? Old man Guiyu was also participating in this training. Who could beat him? Even Yiqing Luo had a messy feeling, not to mention how the other students' inner hearts were galloping in all sorts of ways. The other students are moving in groups. Only you and Teacher Guiyu are moving alone. We heard that the High Profound class will be challenging the High Profound zone. So this time, our zone will be the Middle Profound zone. Chapter 322. As the 2 spoke, they had already entered the Middle Profound area of the training forest. Although it was called a training forest, it was indeed a forest. As far as the eye could see, it was densely packed with lush green trees. This kind of environment was the most suitable for fighting in the wild. There were dense trees everywhere, perfect for hiding and ambushing. It wasn't just a test of one's strength, but also one's reaction and intelligence. The students went in early in the morning. The one with the highest score has already reached 54 points. Biming Lulu analyzed the current situation. You're late by 2 hours and have fallen behind them. You have to catch up as much as possible. Yiqing Luo nodded thoughtfully. 54. It wasn't too high. No group of students had been eliminated yet. Calculating the time, it was about time for the students to snatch the wooden tokens of the other groups. As long as one group made the first move, the other groups would probably wait for an opportunity to make their move. They all know that you and Teacher Guei Yu are acting alone. They don't have the ability to deal with Teacher Guei Yu, but they will target you. I know. I will take note. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as she walked deeper into the forest. The Middle Profound region's overall strength was roughly around the Mystic Profound 7th grade. The magical beasts wandering around were all mid-level magical beasts, with a small number of high-level magical beasts mixed in. However, no matter what level the magical beast was, killing one would only accumulate 1 point. Because of this, in order to save trouble, the students basically searched for mid-level magical beasts to kill. Along the way, there were many mid-level magical beast corpses on the ground. Less than 50 meters into the depths, he saw a small person curled up under a lush tree. She sat against the tree, hugging her knees and burying her head between them. Her slender body trembled from time to time, as if she was sobbing. Yiqing Luo frowned and walked over quickly. "And I, Ruo Pan, why are you here?" Hearing Yiqing Luo's voice, and Ruo Pan immediately raised her head as she opened her misty teary eyes and spoke with a sobbing tone. "Madam Qing Luo?" Yiqing Luo surveyed the surroundings. "Where's Tong Zi Qing?" I don't want to be in the same group as her. I want to be in the same group as Madam Qing Luo. And Ruo Pan pursed her lips as she raised her hand to wipe her tears fiercely. "Madam Qing Luo, you're also in a team alone. Can I join your team?" Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased even tighter as she stared at Ruo Pan's skinny little face as a chilly intent appeared in her eyes. "I thought you already wanted to improve, but I didn't expect you to treat yourself as a weakling deep down in your bones." Yiqing Luo shook off Ruo Pan's hand, which was grabbing her. Her exquisite face was covered with a layer of frost. She purposely arranged Rupan and Tong Ziqing to be in the same group, because she wanted to familiarize themselves with their characters. One was as petty as dust, while the other thought too highly of himself. If these two extreme people could work together, they would definitely be able to change these shortcomings. However, Rupan was the first to give up. I didn't, Madam Qing Luo, it's not that I don't want to become stronger, but Sister Zi Qing feels that I'm a hindrance. Ruo Pan's eyelashes, which were wet with tears, drooped down as she explained in a submissive manner. She bit her lower lip, trying hard to stop her tears from flowing. "I know that with my strength, it's very difficult in the Middle Profound Zone. I try my best to cooperate with Big Sister Ziqing, but these are not excuses." Yiqing Luo's voice was chilly as she crossed her arms and spoke calmly. "I never keep weaklings by my side." Chapter 323. She had done everything she could to help Rupan. It was up to Rupan to overcome her inner cowardice and inferiority complex. Madam Qing Luo, Ruo Pan's hand, which was flung away, froze in midair as he stared blankly at Yiqing Luo. But when she met Yiqing Luo's icy cold gaze, she seemed to have been hit by a stick as she violently shook her head. "Madam Qing Luo, I'm not a weakling. I will also become strong enough to stand by your side." Yiqing Luo had once said that I'm born with a talent. I'm bound to be useful. He had said that he had proven his ability by passing the Heavenly Academy's entrance examination. She was definitely not trash. She wanted to be as confident as Yiqing Luo, so that one day she would have enough qualifications to become Yiqing Luo's left and right arm. Enrich Pan's eyes lit up with a resolute expression as she lifted her sleeve to wipe the tears off her face. I'll go back to look for Sister Ziqing now. For Madame Qing Luo, I will definitely work hard. Not for me, but for yourself. Yiqing Luo shook her head slowly, and Rupin stared at her and smiled through her tears. After that, she turned around and ran towards the dense forest ahead. Yiqing Luo stared at her back as she sighed helplessly, just as he was about to start walking in another direction. Just as he turned to the side, a fierce whirlwind assaulted him. The shadows of the trees were mottled, making an ear-piercing rustling sound. Yiqing Luo reacted in time, and with a light tap of her toes, she swiftly retreated backwards. The dense trees in front of him swayed, and the light that blocked the sunlight flickered. Bang! A loud sound reverberated as that whirlwind blasted onto the place where Yiqing Luo was standing earlier, exploding out a black hole. Madame Qing Luo. Hearing the noise, Enrich Pan turned around and saw that Yiqing Luo had been ambushed. The shadows of the trees swayed, and 3 figures appeared in front of Yiqing Luo. Student Yi. A smile hung on Dan Baishi's face. I've always remembered the battle with you when we first entered the academy. Today is a rare opportunity. Why don't we use the wooden token as a wager and have a match? These 3 people, weren't they 3 of the 8 people who ambushed Yiqing Luo in the outer courtyard when she just joined the devil class? Dan Baishi seemed to have been knocked unconscious by her that day. Was he here to seek revenge? Yiqing Luo's eyes rose slightly as she laughed lightly. How do you want to compete? Last time you alone defeated the 8 of us. Dan Baishi removed the wooden token from her waist as she displayed the numbers on it to Yiqing Luo, 42 points. This point was not the best at the moment, but it was not too far behind either. Now, we have 42 points, and we're betting 30 points on you. Dan Baishi pointed to the 2 male students behind her. If Student Yi alone defeats the 3 of us, it will be your win. You guys are robbers. Enrich Pan's expression changed drastically as he opened up his arms and stood in front of Yiqing Luo. 3 against 1, and you still act so righteous. Dan Baishi sneered and swept a disdainful glance at Enrich Pan. Yo, isn't this the little trash that was abandoned by Big Sister Ziqing? You can help if you want, but are you sure you're helping or dragging her down? I'm not trash. Enrich Pan bit her lower lip tightly as that skinny little face shot out a resolute conviction. You're the trash. You obviously know that you can't defeat Madame Qing Luo alone, so you want to join forces with the 3 of us to snatch Madame Qing Luo's wooden token. Chapter 324. You all. Student Dan is right. This is the rule, and it's reasonable and reasonable. Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand and pushed Enrich Pan aside as she slowly walked towards Dan Baishi. Her charming eyes curved into a long and narrow arc, and her sweet voice lowered a few notches. Since Student Dan wants to bet, I will naturally accept this bet. This smile was extremely alluring, but Dan Baishi shuddered as her back started to feel chilly. She forced herself to hang on as she maintained a calm expression on her face. Just as she was about to shout for the 2 people behind her to attack Yiqing Luo, that greenish-white figure suddenly disappeared in front of her eyes, as though she had blended into the air. Dan Baishi's expression changed abruptly as she gave a low cry and speedily turned around as she drew out the long sword on her waist. Pay attention. Watch her closely. Her words had just ended when she heard a student giving a dull moan as his tall and mighty figure instantly flew out. He rolled several rounds on the ground and crashed against a thick tree trunk as he stopped. That huge tree, which required 2 people to hug, was swayed from the impact as leaves started to fall. That was enough to show the might of this collision. That male student's face turned pale as he groaned in pain and fainted not too long later. At the place where the male student was standing earlier, that slender and enchanting lady had a pair of sparkling eyes as she gave a flirtatious smile. Even though they were both wearing the same green and white uniform, she looked like a budding lotus on her body, pure and elegant, making one not dare to look at her directly. Damn, she and the other male students' eyes widened as they were filled with astonishment. If it was said that day, when Yi Qing Luo fell into devil class, the 8 of them were defeated by Yi Qing Luo, they could find an excuse to say that it was because they had belittled Yi Qing Luo and weren't prepared. But now, they didn't even know when Yi Qing Luo made her move or how she did it. If the person who flew out was them, Damn, she's petite little face turned extremely pale as she retreated a few steps. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she crooked her finger at Damn. Come, it's your turn now. Damn, she bit her lower lip fiercely as her pair of beautiful eyes stared at Yi Qing Luo in terror as she clenched her fists tightly. After a while, she tapped the ground with the tip of her foot and quickly retreated into the forest at the side. As for the male student who was left behind, when he saw Dan Baishi leave alone with the wooden token, his brows furrowed. He clenched his fists tightly as he stared at Yi Qing Luo for some time before gritting his teeth. As long as there's one survivor in our team, he represents our entire team. Kill or torture, it's up to you. You do have some backbone. Yi Qing Luo scoffed lightly. The feeling of being abandoned by your own companions isn't very good, right? The male student's upright face was slightly pale. The reason why this combat training has been changed to a team competition is to cultivate your sense of teamwork. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up in ridicule as her charming eyes were filled with cold ridicule. I'll temporarily let you return to student Dan's side. Let me see your team awareness. After Yi Qing Luo finished her words, she walked towards that fainted male student. She stretched out her hand to feel the male student's forehead as she skillfully took his pulse, while saying, "Also pass a message to student Dan. I will remember this bet, and if we meet again later, I will not show any mercy." Yi Qing Luo took out a medicine bottle from the profound phoenix ring as she poured out a medicinal pill, which was used to nurture internal injuries, and stuffed it into the male student's mouth. This companion of yours will be fine. Later, when Lu comes on patrol, she will bring him back for treatment. That male student's expression stiffened slightly as he looked at his companion who had taken the medicinal pill. His face regained some color. Chapter 325. Madame Qing Luo. Madame Qing Luo. Ni Rua Pan hurriedly chased up to Yi Qing Luo's footsteps. The way she looked at Yi Qing Luo was filled with worship as her eyes shone brightly. Sir Qing Luo was simply too handsome. She was simply the goddess in her heart. She was even more determined to follow Madame Qing Luo's footsteps till death. Yi Qing Luo's footsteps didn't stop as she heard the young lady shouting her name at the top of her lungs. Hearing someone chasing after him and calling him "Milord," he felt a little uncomfortable. For the rest of the journey, it was quiet. They didn't see any other students. It was so quiet that it was as if she and Ni Rupin were the only ones left in the middle profound zone. Occasionally, 1 or 2 mid-level battle-type magical beasts would appear. Looking at Ni Rua Pan, who had been following her with a cautious look, Yi Qing Luo let her deal with the intermediate-level magical beast alone. Ni Rupin did not refute the goddess's words. No matter how afraid he was in his heart, he still braced himself, released his profound energy, and charged toward the mid-level magical beast. Ni Rupin's physical quality was rather poor, hence it was indeed a little strenuous for her to face these mid-level magical beasts. In particular, Ni Rua Pan's actual combat training was too little. There were several times when she was almost scratched by the mid-grade magical beasts. Fortunately, Yi Qing Luo reminded her to avoid them in time. Yi Qing Luo had no intention to go up and help, but at the most crucial moment, she would remind Ni Rua Pan where to attack, how to avoid it, and how to calculate the magical beast's movements and frequency. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, no matter how bad Ni Rupin's aptitude was, she understood how to use her advantage to defeat the demonic beasts. Ni Rupin cried out in joy after she exhausted her strength to kill another demonic beast. She did it. He really did it. She killed a mid-level magical beast. In the past, Rupin never thought that she could defeat a demonic beast with her poor aptitude. Even low-level magical beasts couldn't do it, let alone mid-level magical beasts. Ruo Pan skipped as she dashed towards Yi Qing Luo, so excited that her eyes were brimming with tears. Madam Qing Luo, I've done it. I really did it. Amen. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled. I saw it, it's not bad. It was a simple sentence, but Ruo Pan was so excited that she cried tears of joy. She wiped her tears and couldn't stop giggling. The goddess had praised her. The goddess' acknowledgement was more effective than any words. In his mind, he suddenly heard the goddess's cold and firm voice saying, everyone has their own dignity. Before they give up on themselves, no one can say that they are trash. After that, the two of them went deeper into the forest. When they met with magical beasts, Yi Qing Luo let Ruo take over. She killed one demonic beast after another, and about 5 demonic beasts died in her hands. Ruo Pan gradually became more proficient from her original timid self. Kicking and punching, his movements were smooth and seamless. Time passed by one breath at a time. Soon, the sky gradually darkened. Rupin was exhausted, but she still wanted to continue. Rupin's body was covered in the blood of the demonic beasts, and her nostrils were filled with the smell of blood, but she did not notice it at all. It was until they killed another middle-grade magical beast, Ruo Pan's brows were filled with smiles. Madam Qing Luo, how many points have you accumulated for your wooden token? She had killed so many magical beasts that she should have at least a dozen points. Chapter 326. You're a member of Tong Ziqing's team, so the points from killing the magical beasts naturally belong to your team members. Yi Qing Luo brushed away the wooden token on her waist as she replied disapprovingly. Then why did you ask me to kill the magical beasts? You should be the one to do it. Rupin bit her lower lip and looked like she wanted to cry, but had no tears. She had put in so much effort just to earn more points for her goddess. Who would have thought that it would actually benefit Tong Ziqing? Don't feel resentful. That's your team. It's your team. Yi Qing Luo played it down as she continued to walk forward. Your motive for participating in the actual combat training is to help your team accumulate points. Ruo Pan pursed her lips as she silently followed behind Yi Qing Luo. At this time, the sky had already turned completely dark. The dense trees around them looked like witches with their hands wide open, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, trying to swallow people into their stomachs. Do you know when the entrance to the training forest closes? For the entire day, apart from Dan Baishi and the others, she and Rupin did not see anyone else. He wondered how the other students were faring. Ruo Pan raised her head and looked at the sky that was covered by the lush foliage. It was so dark that not a single ray of light could be seen. Vice Class Monitor said that we must report to the secret passage before the night. What time of the day? Yi Qing Luo calculated that there were still about 2 hours left. Let's go. Yi Qing Luo opened her arms and stretched her muscles. Rupin was confused. Where are we going? Yi Qing Luo twisted her neck and said lightly, looking for students, snatching points. Huh? Rupin blinked and returned to her senses after a while. Yi Qing Luo had already walked far away, and she hurriedly jogged up to her. Madam Qing Luo, are you going to snatch other students' wooden tokens? If they didn't snatch it now, when would they? These students had been working hard for an entire day, and at this time, they were exhausted. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a crafty arc. The most important thing now was to find the other students. Ruo Pan went into a daze for some time before she understood Yi Qing Luo's meaning from the deep smile on her lips. Madam Qing Luo, you're so treacherous. His words had just ended when his body was suddenly pulled by Yi Qing Luo, and he stood behind 2 huge trees. Ouch! Rupin's body was slammed against the tree trunk, and her face was covered by the surrounding leaves. Qing, before he could say anything, Yi Qing Luo growled, Shut up. Yi-Ching Luo's expression was grave as she squinted her eyes and looked ahead through the tree branches. Not far away, there was a hubbub of noise. More than 10 students dressed in green and white uniforms surrounded a person who had fallen to the ground. He could vaguely hear the coarse curses of a few people. What is this thing? It actually ran into the training forest? He's neither a human nor a beast. The training forest is basically sealed off. It's only opened when the classes have actual combat training. How could something else have gotten in? While those people were discussing, they heard another person shout, "Make way! The acting vice president is here! Everyone make way!" The students surrounding him immediately moved aside to make a path for him. Through the luminous pearls in the student's hands, Yi-Ching Luo saw that person's face on the ground. It was an unfamiliar face, and he was not a student of the devil class. That was a petite young lady curled up on the ground. The young lady's attire was extremely strange. It was a black, furry long robe wrapping around her petite body. That exquisite little face was as pale as a piece of paper. Chapter 327. The students in front of her were all from the High Profound class. No wonder she hadn't seen any devil class students. Unknowingly, she had barged into the High Profound class. Fortunately, she didn't bump into any High Profound class students along the way. Otherwise, if the High Profound class knew that she had entered the training forest, it would implicate the devil class. Enrich Pan also noticed the figure in front of her and froze on the spot, not daring to move. On the other side, following the respectful greetings of the students, Lu Shuelon slowly walked in front of the young girl, surrounded by the stars and the moon. A little girl? Lu Shuelon squinted her beautiful eyes as she lifted her leg and gave the young lady a kick. "Where did you come from?" The young lady opened her clear eyes and shrank back as she shook her head. "Bring her out and hand her over to the elder quarters." Lu Shuelon rolled her eyes in disdain, as arrogant as a rooster. "Don't bother me with such a small matter. I'm very busy." Yes. Vice President is appointed today and has so many things on hand. For the glory of the High Profound class, you took time out of your busy schedule to participate in the actual combat training. It's just a stranger. Just hand her over to the elder. A female student beside her smiled flatteringly as she kept on bootlicking. Such a responsible vice president like Vice President, I think it won't be long before you can officially take up the post. Lu Shuelon had a complacent look as she laughed and walked past the young lady. Lu Shuiyu was punished, and Lu Shuelon took over. These two sisters looked very close on the surface, but she didn't expect that. They were scheming against each other for the sake of status. "Madam Ching Luo, that person looks so pitiful." Enrich Pan said in a low voice. Yi-Ching Luo's eyes flickered slightly. That young lady was covered in injuries, and if she didn't take the time to treat her, she might not even be able to keep her life. She wondered what kind of cruel methods these High Profound class students had used on a little girl. But Yi-Ching Luo didn't want to be nosy. She couldn't care less. She wasn't omnipotent. There were more than 10 High Profound class students. If she rushed out, wouldn't she be courting death? Especially if she were to poke her nose into this. Wouldn't it be telling the High Profound class students that she had come to the training forest? And then it would implicate the devil class? In the end, the elder would investigate and close the secret passage to the training forest. Little Luo. Just as Yi-Ching Luo was about to pull Enrich Pan away, Old Man Song's voice suddenly rang in her mind. She was startled and replied, "I'm here. If I'm not mistaken, that girl should be a beastman." Beastman? Yi-Ching Luo frowned, not understanding what the beast human clan was. The beastmen race is different from magical beasts. Magical beasts are pure beasts, while the beastmen race should be considered half human and half beast. Old Man Song explained in a deep voice, "The beastmen race is born half human and half beast." Hearing Old Man Song's words, Yi-Ching Luo then noticed that the lady lying on the ground had 2 black ears on top of her bundled-up hair. It was furry and trembled from time to time. Yi-Ching Luo narrowed her eyes. "Cat beast. The Beastman clan is extremely rare in the Nirvana realm, and it can even be said that they have long been extinct. Old Man Tsang was silent for a moment, and his tone became serious. I never thought that I would actually be able to see another Beastman. The Nirvana realm was already extinct. Could it be that this young lady came from outside the Nirvana realm? Chapter 328. Contract. Although the Beastmen looked like half human and half beast, but if you didn't look closely, no matter how you looked at it, it looked like a human. If you made a contract with it, it felt like you were making a contract with a person. The biggest difference between the magical beasts and the Beastmen is this. Old Man Song continued in a deep voice. The magical beast contract is your battle partner, for you to ride, to cooperate with you in battle, whereas the Beastman contract is to provide you with internal support, to receive the Beastman's bloodline inheritance. Bloodline? Bloodline inheritance is to share the strength of the Beastmen with you. Old Man Song's tone became a little excited. Humans all want to sign a contract with the Beastmen to receive the Beastman's bloodline inheritance. This will be of great help to your cultivation. You mean I should save her? Yiqing Luo raised her brows slightly. This is for your own good. The Beastmen appearing in Nirvana realm is a rare opportunity. Indeed, it was a rare opportunity. But, under such circumstances, how should she save that young lady? Madam Qing Luo, what are you thinking about? N.I. Ruo Pan carefully tugged at Yiqing Luo's sleeve. Yiqing Luo kept a calm face and didn't make sound. N.I. Ruo Pan was a little scared. A way to save her. Yiqing Luo frowned as her brain worked. She saw a student lifting the young lady with one hand and preparing to leave the training forest. Yiqing Luo didn't have time to hesitate. She gritted her teeth and used her thoughts to call out Shiju. Ever since leaving the magic beast forest, Shiju had been staying in the pet space. Shiju was the same size as Chi-Chi, sitting on the ground and looking up at Yiqing Luo. N.I. Ruo Pan was shocked when a little thing suddenly popped out. Yiqing Luo quickly untied her uniform and took out a set of red dress that DMO Xian had prepared for her from the profound phoenix ring. She threw the uniform to N.I. Ruo Pan. Do you still remember the way? N.I. Ruo Pan nodded. She might not be good at other things, but her memory was the best. She followed Yiqing Luo left and right along the way. To prevent getting lost, she specially remembered all the roads. All right, go back the way you came and wait for me at the place where we met. Yiqing Luo said as she untied her hair tie, letting her fine black hair fall down. You want to be alone. There's less than 2 hours left. We'll leave immediately after we save them. At the same time when her words fell, Shiju received Yiqing Luo's instructions, and its palm-sized figure suddenly transformed into a leopard beast in battle form. Roar! A sharp howl came from Shiju's mouth. The size of Shiju's combat form was a little bigger than when he saw it in the magical beast forest. This change naturally attracted the attention of the high-level class students. Yiqing Luo leaped up and landed on the back of Shiju. At the same time, her fingertips lifted a white veil, covering half of her face. When Shiju transformed, N.I. Rupin was completely stunned. Her aptitude was mediocre, but she had a good memory. She liked to read books that were helpful to her cultivation. Naturally, he could recognize that this leopard-shaped magical beast was a low-level magical beast. A mirage beast. What level of magical beast was that? In the entire Three Spring City, there were no more than 3 families that could take out a mirage beast. Madame Qing Luo had actually contracted a mirage beast as her own war pet. Oh my god, what kind of pervert was her goddess? Chapter 329. Yiqing Luo's vision had been paying attention to N.I. Ruo Pan. Seeing that she had gone far away, Yiqing Luo rode on Shiju and speedily approached that group of students. Who is it? More than 10 students stopped in their tracks and raised the luminous pearl. One of the students frowned and berated sternly. Do you know what this place is? these students had some doubts in their hearts. The entrance to the heavenly training forest would usually only be opened during class training. Why were there so many strangers today? Wait, wait, some students exclaimed. That's a mirage beast. Low-level mirage beast. More than 10 students' expressions changed when they heard the two words mirage beast. Their faces revealed an astonished look. Mirage beast? Even if it was a low-level mirage beast, they would not be its opponent even if they worked together to deal with it. But there was actually a person sitting on the back of a low-level mirage beast. There was actually someone who could contract a mirage beast. What happened? Suddenly, a clear and melodious voice came from afar. Yi Qing Qian stepped on the air and landed gracefully in front of the students. Yi Qing Qian had been living a miserable life recently. Ever since the last time when she brought Lu Shuiyu to catch Yi Qing Luo for violating the school rules, but was slapped on the face by Yi Qing Luo and was forced to wash the toilet for 3 days, Yi Qing Qian had been isolated by the students. Lu Shuiyu wouldn't do anything to her on the surface, but the means of revenge in the dark was enough to torture her until she begged for mercy. Today, Lu Shuilan's promotion saved her from the edge of isolation. She wanted to achieve a good result in today's actual combat training to regain the good impression of the students. Coincidentally, she had accumulated over 40 points and was preparing to leave to find Lu Shuilan to flatter her. But she discovered the commotion over here. Thinking of the recent few days, the students had isolated her under Lu Shuiyu's hint. She had to change her image and maintain a reputation of Three Springs Town's #1 beauty. Therefore, after she saw the commotion, she immediately came up to welcome them. Student Qing Qian. A student saw Yi Qing Qian's arrival and was overjoyed. Although Yi Qing Qian had offended Lu Shuiyu these few days, everyone had been avoiding her. But today Lu Shuilan had ascended to the position, and everyone wasn't willing to offend the pampered eldest young miss of Three Springs sect, so they tried to cater to her perfunctorily. Most importantly, Yi Qing Qian's profound grade was above them. Student Qing Qian, there's a stranger in the training forest. The student pointed at the young lady who was being carried and glanced at Yi Qing Luo's direction apprehensively. The minute Yi Qing Qian came over, her vision fell onto Yi Qing Luo. That red dress, which was like a blooming rose, and that enchanting temperament made her subconsciously think of Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Qian's eyes darkened as her gaze turned sharp. Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes as she met Yi Qing Qian's probing gaze with a smile, which didn't look like a smile. The red lips under the veil curled up into a sneer. He had not expected Yi Qing Qian to be here as well. But Yi Qing Qian's eyes seemed to have recognized her. Yi Qing Qian understood her so well. Yi Qing Luo's charming eyes curved as she intentionally suppressed her own voice, changing the tone of her voice. I'm just passing by this place. I don't want to start a dispute with you. I only need you to hand that young lady over to me. Passing by? Yi Qing Qian scoffed. The entrance here is usually sealed and only open today. How did you pass by? What has it got to do with you? Yi Qing Luo patted Shi Ju lightly, indicating it to come closer. Chapter 330. No matter how mentally prepared Yi Qing Qian was, she couldn't help but shriek out in fright when she saw the head of a huge leopard. I have no intention to cause trouble. Hand the girl over to me, and I will leave immediately. Yi Qing Luo spat in disdain as she raised her eyes and looked directly at the direction of the girl. The student who was carrying the young girl fell to the ground when his gaze swept past him. She blinked her eyes. Her pure eyes revealed a bit of fear and innocence, a delicate and pitiful look. Yi Qing Luo's figure swayed as she flipped down from the jade and flew towards the girl. Just as her hand was about to pull the girl into her arms, suddenly a pa-pa sound came from the air. A soft whip, as fast as lightning, lashed over fiercely, making a whistling sound in the air. Trespassers in the heavenly training forest must be arrested and sent to the elder quarters. Yi Qing Qian shouted and waved the long whip to stop Yi Qing Luo's action. That whip was lashed with great force. Yi Qing Luo's hand retracted and her body fell down softly. Her body had already avoided this long whip in an extremely strange posture. Yi Qing Qian's delicate brows twisted into a ball and her face turned extremely ugly. She was unconvinced as she flipped the long whip and lashed it towards Yi Qing Luo's body. Yi Qing Qian's original weapon was a soft whip. Previously, Yi Qing Luo had destroyed a supreme divine whip, and Yi Tianquang had found a pure quality long whip for her. Although it was not as powerful as the previous divine whip, but after all, it was still the best of the pure quality. When the whip lashed down, there was a trace of indistinct electric current running along the whip's body. She is indeed student Qing Qian, the #1 genius beauty of Three Springs sect, a well-deserved reputation. The high profound class students couldn't help but praise Yi Qing Qian's action and posture. These students' aptitudes were all above average, but that didn't stop them from praising the strong. Yi Qing Qian's whip skills were incomparably elegant. His every move was like a dance, and that long whip, swept through the air, brought about a sound of breaking wind, which made one's heart tremble. Even if it was them, probably no one could avoid Yi Qing Qian's whip. But what surprised them was that the red-clothed woman with a white veil on her face was as nimble as a loach. They were unable to catch her at all. Yi Qing Qian's every whip missed. The whips struck the ground around them, causing cracks to appear on the ground. Yi Qing Luo took out a dagger from the profound phoenix ring and pointed it at Yi Qing Qian. The radiance of the night pearls in the surroundings reflected the dagger's blade aura. It was extremely dazzling. Yi Qing Luo didn't use the glower flame fan, and based on Yi Qing Qian's understanding of herself, she would probably be recognized the minute she used the fan. Yi Qing Luo was proficient in light weapons. Daggers and feather fan were no different. That dagger could cut through iron like mud. It had barely touched Yi Qing Qian by half an inch, and had already been cut. But as the dagger flew around Yi Qing Luo's fingertips, it didn't hurt her fingers at all. On the contrary, Yi Qing Qian was forced to retreat by that dagger. Yi Qing Luo's control of the dagger was extremely agile, as it slashed towards her body, as though it would slice her neck in the next second. The terrain of the training forest was extremely disadvantageous to Yi Qing Qian. The surrounding forest was dense, and Yi Qing Qian's long whip, the space was too narrow and faced with resistance. The power was not even half of the power displayed in a spacious area. Chapter 331. After a few rounds, Yi Qing Qian was like a mouse being teased, unable to resist at all. When the surrounding students saw this scene, the admiration towards Yi Qing Qian gradually turned into ridicule. Yi Qing Qian's face flushed red. This was called not being able to act cool, and instead became a coward. She whipped the long whip hatefully, wishing she could whip the lady in red 81 times. Women in red were all so hateful. Yi Qing Luo was. And this lady too. Why are you all still standing there foolishly? If the elder knew that an outsider had entered the training forest, and we let the outsider escape, how would he punish the high profound class? At this moment, Yi Qing Qian had no intention to continue to be in the limelight. Her mind was filled with thoughts of gathering more than 10 students to take down this lady in red and let her torture her. The high profound class students frowned, not liking Yi Qing Qian's tone. They had always been respected in the academy and were used to being flattered. They were used to seeing Yi Qing Qian's gentle and generous look. But when they heard Yi Qing Qian's commanding words, they revealed a displeased look. Seeing that those students were unmoved, Yi Qing Qian was so angry that she almost vomited blood. In this moment of absent-mindedness, there was a cold touch on her cheek. She immediately concentrated and was about to avoid it. However, the enchanting figure in red before him waved her sleeves lightly. An icy coldness streaked across her cheek. Immediately, there was a stinging pain on the side of her cheek, as if there was liquid flowing out. You dare to ruin my face." Yi Qingqian's eyes widened as she reached out to touch her cheek. Sure enough, there was a stickiness on her hand. What women cared most about was their own appearance. Especially Yi Qingqian, who was known as the #1 beauty in Three Spring City. She cared about her own appearance even more. Yi Qing Luo played with the dagger in her hand, which was stained with blood. Her brows revealed a mocking sneer. "Next time, it will be your left cheek. Are you ready?" Yi Qingqian gripped the long whip tightly and lashed it towards Yi Qing Luo in anger. A strong, profound qi broke out from Yi Qingqian's body. A powerful wave of qi encircled her body. That long whip drew a black arc in midair, like a soft snake, as it wound towards Yi Qing Luo. With a belly full of anger, the profound energy released was much more ferocious than before. If you're still students of a high profound class, you shouldn't just stand by and watch. Not only will we be punished by the elders for trespassing into the training forest, but we will also be reported to the entire academy. When that time comes, I won't be the only one who will be embarrassed. Yi Qingqian had learned her lesson this time round. These students had stood at the top for a long time, and they valued their reputation more than anyone else. Informed the entire academy that the high profound class had released a stranger who trespassed into the training grounds. The one who was embarrassed was the entire high profound class. If word got out that a dozen of them from the high profound class allowed a girl to come and go as she pleased and even brought an injured person away, the students from the other classes would probably doubt the capability of the high-level class. Those 10 over students exchanged glances and headed towards Yi Qing Luo's direction, surrounding her. "Shijue." Yi Qing Luo's eyes flashed coldly as her lips curled into a treacherous sneer. She shouted out, and Shiju, who was originally standing not too far away, widened its beast eyes as it stared unblinkingly at its master. With a leap, it broke through those 10 over students' encirclement and stood right in front of Yi Qing Luo. It arched its body, opened its mouth, and gave out a low growl. Its sharp fangs were exceptionally dazzling. Chapter 332. One must know that if it was an experienced mercenary group facing a mirage beast, they would feel guilty. Not to mention these students. Yi Qingqian swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Looking at the lady riding on the mirage beast's back, the coquettish red figure stung her eyes. She suppressed the surging fear in her heart and pursed her red lips tightly. This lady's profound grade is not high. As long as we restrain the mirage beast, we will subdue her, and that mirage beast will not dare to be rash. Just now, when they exchanged blows, Yi Qingqian sensed that the lady's profound grade was not considered high. She was able to avoid her long whip only because of the terrain here and the lady's agility. The only thing worthy of their vigilance was that low-grade mirage beast. Red dress, leopard-type mirage beast. If it wasn't for the fact that this mirage beast was not very similar to the leopard-type mirage beast they saw in the magical beast, Yi Qingqian would have thought that this lady was Yi Qing Luo. However, when she thought that Yi Qing Luo was still in the waist class and had no chance to appear here, she suppressed this thought in her heart. More than a dozen students heard this and once again surrounded Yi Qing Luo and Shiju. "Miss, this is the Heavenly Academy's restricted area. You trespass here has violated the school's rules. You'd better surrender obediently and follow us to see the elders." One of the male students frowned and tried to reason with Yi Qing Luo. The prestige of the Heavenly Academy had spread throughout the Nirvana realm. Daring to create trouble in the Heavenly Academy, if the elders were to punish you severely, you might lose half your life. However, the lady opposite did not show any signs of fear. With a veil covering her face, he could not see her expression clearly. However, that pair of cold, enchanting eyes was like an ice-cold, poisonous tongue, ruthlessly pinching his heart. This lady's aura was too majestic. Even the name of the Heavenly Academy couldn't suppress her. What's the point of talking so much? The entrance to the training forest is about to close. Yi Qingqian's gentle and beautiful face was covered with a layer of sternness. Her voice also added some majesty. You guys go to the entrance to call for help. Today we must take down these outsiders who trespass into the training forest. Pausing for a moment, she continued, for outsiders to trespass into the training forest, it is very likely to affect the safety of the other students. As students of the high profound class, if we can save the hidden safety of the school, it would be an honor for the high profound class. One of them went to the entrance to report, while the others continued to be in a deadlock with Yi Qing Luo. The dense forest in the training forest covered the bright moon in the sky. The surroundings were dark and gloomy, terrifying, and extremely stifling. Yi Qingqian had always been one of the top students in the class. Even though she had lost face and reputation due to many things, her strength was still there. At this moment, Yi Qingqian put on a solemn expression as she commanded everyone in an orderly manner. The other students were also thinking the same thing. To let the high profound class become the target of envy from the other classes, they immediately developed a conflicted heart and cooperated with Yi Qingqian. One must know that even though their high profound class was revered by the other students, however, they were still suppressed by the class of gods. At the mention of the high profound class, the students had to mention the class of gods and use it as a comparison. Yi Qingqian ordered 2 people to guard the injured young lady, in case she was taken away by Yi Qing Luo. If Yi Qing Luo was taken away, they would not be able to catch up to her when she rode on the mirage beast. Yi Qingqian glanced sideways at the young lady lying on the ground. A cold glint appeared in her eyes as the long whip moved again. Chapter 333. Shiju's size was huge, but it was extremely agile. The surrounding dense forest was not a hindrance to it, but a help. Its thick claws slammed hard on the ground, and its huge body had already soared into the air. On the other hand, the earth quaked and the mountains shook as countless cracks appeared on the ground. Yi Qingqian didn't stop as she released her profound qi and injected it into the long whip. Her target was only Shiju. The surrounding students also quickly surrounded him and attacked him. Their target was Yi Qing Luo, one against the mirage beast, the other against Yi Qing Luo. One had to admit that Yi Qingqian's move was indeed ingenious. When Yi Qingqian attacked Shiju, Shiju avoided the attack of the long whip and charged forward to counterattack. On Yi Qing Luo's side, a few high profound class students attacked from the left and right, setting off bursts of palm wind as they struck towards Yi Qing Luo's face. Yi Qing Luo and Shiju hadn't been together for a long time, and the human and beast had yet to develop a tacit understanding. The high profound class split up to attack, and Yi Qing Luo was at a disadvantage. Just as Yi Qingqian's upper body curled up a whirlwind, Yi Qing Luo's body flipped and rolled down from Shiju's back. When the students saw this, joy flashed past their eyes. As long as Yi Qing Luo didn't have the Mirage Beast's help, it would be easy to capture her. Yi Qingqian's lips curled into a cold smile as she shouted, "Student Yin, Student Shangwan, I'll have to trouble the both of you to trap this Mirage Beast." Among the students who were entangled with Yi Qing Luo, 2 of them retreated from the battle and flew towards Yi Qingqian's direction. A man and a woman. The man was holding a long sword and had a proper appearance. The minute he got close to Shiju, the long sword in his hand curled up a ray of sword radiance as it struck toward Shiju. After being shouted at by Yi Qingqian suddenly realized that this man holding a long sword wasn't he Shangwan Lu Li's third brother, Shangwan Fangyi? As for the other woman, her looks were exquisite and her brows had the same gentleness as Yi Qingqian. Only her eyes revealed a hint of viciousness. Not knowing if it was because the surroundings were too dark or Yi Qing Luo's eyes were blurry, Yi Qing Luo actually felt that this woman looked like someone. Not giving Yi Qing Luo much time to think, Yi Qingqian's long whip had already lashed towards her. The two people that Yi Qing Qian had chosen, one used a long blade while the other used a pair of blades. With their coordination, they really managed to block Shiju, who was about to rush towards Yi Qing Luo. This was the academy. Yi Qing Luo could not kill anyone. Shiju could dodge and put on a threatening stance, but it couldn't really use its claws and mouth. Otherwise, with a single swipe of its claws, these high-profound class students would be turned into meat patties. If they were to leave with the Cat Beast Girl, these high-level class students would leave this matter unsettled in order to protect the reputation of the high-level class. Even if the academy were to conduct a thorough investigation, it would be done in secret to prevent disrupting the students' concentration in class. But if someone were to die here, and it was a high-profound class student, the consequences would be different. At this moment, Yi Qing Luo was surrounded by 5 high-profound class students. Yi Qing Jian sneered. "Trespasser, how dare you intrude into our high-profound class territory? Now, pay the price for your ignorance." That lady in red, as she walked, her skirt was slightly fluttering, like a rose blooming in the dark night, revealing a flirtatious yet fatal charm. In the darkness, it seemed as if a figure in Yi Qing Qian's heart was gradually overlapping. If there was something strange, then it was strange that this lady had to wear a red skirt and looked so similar to that little slut Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Qian's eyes seemed to be dipped in poison, becoming increasingly vicious, seeing that Yi Qing Qian's long whip was about to land on Yi Qing Luo. Chapter 334. Yi Qing Luo's speed was extremely fast, like a ghost. A chill arose in Yi Qing Qian's heart. Just now, when Yi Qing Luo got close to her, her face was ruined by Yi Qing Luo. With the previous lesson, Yi Qing Qian swiftly retreated, and with a feint, she avoided Yi Qing Luo's entanglement. Yi Qing Qian's long whip was a long-distance attack, and Yi Qing Luo's dagger could only be used in close combat. As long as Yi Qing Luo didn't get close to her, Yi Qing Luo couldn't do anything to her. With this thought in mind, Yi Qing Qian's eyes shot out a ray of light, and the hand holding the long whip waved again. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows with interest. Perhaps it was because she had trained Yi Qing Qian previously. The current her seemed to be much more mature. She actually knew how to use her brain to think of a way to deal with it. Seemed like she had underestimated Yi Qing Qian previously, treating her as a brainless idiot with big breasts. Yi Qing Luo chuckled. Hearing that chuckle, Yi Qing Qian's expression congealed. The cold glint in her eyes deepened as she raised her palm and brushed against the long whip. The whip's body suddenly shone with a red glow. Strong, profound qi burst forth, like a snake that was blooming with light, slithering up. Earth Profound Early Stage. Student Qing Qian actually broke through the Earth Profound stage. The two students who were guarding the Cat Beast Girl had been watching the battle closely. The moment they saw the profound qi released by Yi Qing Qian, their mouths immediately turned into an O shape. Such a strong wave. The surrounding had already set off layers of huge waves due to the profound qi released by Yi Qing Qian. In a split second, the winds and clouds changed. I was wondering what had happened to student Qing Qian these few days. I didn't expect her to advance to the Earth Profound stage. She is indeed the eldest miss of Three Springs sect. Her innate talent is so strong. The two students couldn't stop exclaiming. Even the other students looked at Yi Qing Qian in disbelief with a flabbergasted expression. Although the High Profound class was an extremely talented class, the overall level of Profound grade was above Mystic Profound 6th grade. And those who broke through the Earth Profound stage, the first and second class added up were no more than 5. Yi Qing Qian's Profound grade had always stayed at Mystic Profound 9th grade. Especially recently, no one paid attention to her. Unexpectedly, Yi Qing Qian actually broke through the Earth Profound stage quietly. Ha! This intruder is dead for sure. The High Profound class students were rubbing their fists excitedly. as if they had already predicted the scene where they would bring these two intruders to the elder quarters to receive their commendation. The students of the High Profound class were all outstanding students in terms of innate talent and perception. After exchanging blows with the intruder, they could sense that the lady's profound grade should be on par with them. Her only advantage was her precision, sensitivity, and speed. So what if he was fast? No matter how fast he would eventually tire out. As long as this intruder had no intention of leaving alone, they would be able to exhaust her strength round after round. What's more, with Earth Profound Realm Yi Qing Qian around, no matter how fast she was, could she be faster than an Earth Profound cultivator? Even the difference of one grade was like the difference between heaven and earth. Not to mention the difference of a mystic class. They were not on the same level at all. Yiqing Luo's eyes surfaced a sliver of astonishment. She had not expected Yi Qing Qian to break through to the Earth Profound Realm. The last time in a magic beast forest, Yi Qing Qian was still in the mystic profound 9th grade, and there was no sign of her breaking through at all. When Yiqing Luo was in the yellow profound 9th grade, she was stuck for a long period of time. She was obviously on the verge of breaking through, but had no way to do so. But in a short span of half a month, Yi Qing Qian broke through such a huge barrier. Chapter 335. Not giving Yiqing Luo much time to think, that strong aura had already attacked Yiqing Luo. Releasing the profound energy of the Earth Profound Realm, Yiqing Qian's speed and the strength of the long whip had a qualitative leap. Yiqing Luo was fast, but she was even faster. The profound energy that lingered around the long whip seemed to have locked onto Yiqing Luo as it tightly wrapped around her back. Yiqing Luo quickly stepped on the strange footwork. Her figure seemed to have disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. The other students who swarmed up were unable to use their naked eyes to track Yiqing Luo's figure. However, no matter where Yiqing Luo stopped, Yiqing Qian's long whip seemed to have grown eyes, chasing after her. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed a trace of horror. Did she see it wrongly? It seemed like, on top of Yiqing Qian's long whip, other than that dark ray, there was a trace of faintly discernible black qi moving about. It was not obvious at all. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to tell. What kind of aura was this? Because of that moment of distraction, Yiqing Luo's right arm was swept by that long whip. Instantly, a hole was torn in her red robe, revealing Yiqing Luo's fair skin. On her arm, there was a scarlet whip mark, extremely clear. Yiqing Luo felt a burning pain on her arm, glancing sideways. That scarlet whip mark was already oozing blood. Intruder, don't you think you're very fast? Come, let's see if your legs or my whip is faster. Yiqing Qian's lips curled into a proud arc as she sneered and waved the long whip. Looking at the lady in red being whipped, Yiqing Qian had the pleasure of hitting Yiqing Luo, that little waist. Her beautiful eyes were gradually dyed with an excited smile as she raised the long whip in her hand and attacked Yiqing Luo once again. Luo lass, I'm afraid your eldest sister used some unusual means to break through the Earth Profound Realm. Old Man Song's voice sounded in her mind. Unusual means? What did he mean? Was it related to that black qi? It's similar to your fourth sister. She has the aura from the dark side. Old Man Song's tone was solemn. He pondered for a moment and said, the last time your fourth sister used an item from the dark forces, it seemed to be related to your eldest sister. With Old Man Song's reminder, Yiqing Luo recalled that during the ability assessment, Yiqing Qian had personally admitted that she was the one who passed the long sword to Yiqing Ling. Her excuse was that she had borrowed the sword from her Shifu, the head of the largest school, the Ten Scenic. In this way, Yiqing Qian and that long sword were inextricably linked. Yiqing Qian really had connections with the dark forces? If your eldest sister really borrows the power of the dark forces and breaks through to the Earth Profound Realm, Old Man Song's tone became increasingly heavy. I'm afraid that your eldest sister will be the same as your fourth sister, controlled by the evil energy of the profound Yin. While conversing with Old Man Song, Yi Qing Jian did not stop her attacks. Yi Qing Luo endured the pain from her arm and swiftly changed her footwork. Surely Yi Qing Qian hadn't really been forced by her and made a deal with the dark forces, right? Last time, in order to fight for Yi Qing Ling to be allocated to the high profound class. This time, was it to prove her ability? In order to become stronger, he was willing to pay any price. While she was dodging and dodging, the students had already invited the elder from the entrance. The mighty group of more than 10 people wasn't the one standing at the front of the group of people, Elder Yunxiang. Since yesterday, because of Lu Shuiyu's matter, he was caught red-handed by Yun. In order to make Yi Qing Luo satisfied, Yunxiang was also punished on the surface. Chapter 336. Yunxiang had thought that being in charge of the training forest was just opening the entrance and guarding the entrance to prevent students from getting injured during actual combat training. He had not expected that there would be an intruder. If this matter were to be passed to Yun's ears, his small mistake would become a big one. Yunxiang was filled with dissatisfaction and wanted to settle the matter as soon as possible, so he hurried over. Standing far away, he saw Yi Qing Qian waving her long whip as she chased after a lady in red. There was also a low-level mirage beast, and 2 students were struggling to stop the mirage beast. What's going on? What's going on? How could there be an intruder in the heavenly training forest? Elder Yunxiang frowned as he walked over quickly. Yi Qing Qian kept her long whip and cupped her fists towards Yunxiang. Elder Yunxiang, the students from the high profound class will not let off anyone who tries to destroy the peace of the school. Yunxiang's gaze met Yi Qing Qian, and a trace of astonishment flashed past his eyes. He could naturally feel the earth profound qi that was released from Yi Qing Qian. Another student from the high profound class had broken through to the earth profound class. Why was there no reminder on the school's wooden plaque? Lu Shuilan followed beside Yunxiang, but realized that he kept staring at Yi Qing Qian, and a trace of displeasure arose in her heart. Yunxiang had always been standing on Lu Shuiyu's side, and now that she had replaced Lu Shuiyu's position and became the acting vice president, it was only a matter of time before she became the vice president. But Yunxiang still had a lukewarm attitude toward her. Now he was still staring at Yi Qing Qian. Could it be that he wanted to groom Yi Qing Qian into the next Lu Shuiyu? This thought made Lu Shuilan's eyes sunk, and she immediately opened her mouth. What Qing Qian said is right. Our faculty council will not let the intruder off. However, Lu Shuilan's words made the surrounding high-profound class students unhappy. What do they mean by faculty council? This was obviously the intruder who was discovered by the high-profound class, and it was them who exhausted their energy to capture the intruder. How did it become the faculty council's credit? But due to Lu Shuilan's status, the students did not dare to voice out their dissatisfaction, but only looked at Lu Shuilan's gaze with unhappiness. What faction are you trying to form? Settle that illusion beast for me. All of you quickly take down the intruder. The entrance is about to close. Yunxiang felt annoyed and waved his sleeves impatiently. He didn't have the free time to watch the disputes between some juniors, and he felt even more anxious in his heart when he thought about how there was only less than an hour left until the hour of 9. The white long robe swept past in the dark night, turning into an afterimage. The person had already rushed in front of Shiju. He waved his palm, bringing with it a wave of killing intent as he chopped down. Shangguan Fangyi and Yin Jun Fei immediately retreated from the illusion beast's attack range. The 2 people's bodies were already riddled with scars long ago, all scratched by Shiju's claws. At this moment, 20 over high profound class students had surrounded Yi Qing Luo. Class 1 and Class 2 had always been in a competitive relationship, but this time, the 2 classes were surprisingly cooperative. Yi Qing Luo's arm was injured and her profound grade was not enough to withstand the earth profound qi. The corrosion of the long whip caused her long arms to ache. At this moment, more than 20 Mystic Realm students swarmed forward. Suddenly, from Yi Qing Luo's surroundings, a few gold coin darts suddenly flew over. The force of those gold coin darts was ferocious and strong, and with a swoosh-swoosh sound, it revolved around Yi Qing Luo. Those high profound class students were on high alert as they sensitively took a few steps back. A few gold coin darts were embedded deeply into the ground. Chapter 337. Only to see three figures approaching at an extremely fast speed. In just a blink of an eye, they were already standing next to Yi Qing Luo. These three people were dressed in red robes, and their heads were covered tightly, only revealing a pair of penetrating eyes. "There's help!" A student cried out in shock. Yun Xiang was restraining Shi Ju when he heard this cry as he looked over with rapt attention. He saw another three intruders by Yi Qing Luo's side. His heart suddenly trembled as he was overwhelmed with shock. The entrance to the heavenly training forest had always been sealed. Only today was the entrance opened, and he had been guarding the entrance. If anyone were to barge in, he would definitely be the first to discover it. How could there be so many intruders? Quickly take down these four people. When we return, the Elder Quarters will send people to search the entire training forest and catch all the intruders. Yun Xiang's face was gloomy as the moves he struck out became more and more vicious. Yi Qing Luo held on her right arm as her peripheral vision swept past the few people beside her as her pink lips pursed. "What are you guys doing here?" These three people were none other than Xiao Jin, Yin Xiao Yi, and Tong Ziqing. When she saw Tong Ziqing, Yi Qing Luo was slightly astonished. "Didn't you say that we need to nurture our team consciousness? We're a team, aren't we?" Xiao Jin smiled as his tone was calm. She did say that, but if the Elder Quarters were to find out, it would implicate the entire devil class. Yin Xiao Yi carefully avoided Yi Qing Luo's injured arm as she patted her shoulder. "Don't worry. Even if we suspect the entire academy, the Elder Quarters will absolutely not think that it's the devil class." "Stop the nonsense. Since you want us to understand what's called a team, why are you so apprehensive? Are you treating us as a team?" Tong Ziqing scoffed coldly. Her gaze towards Yi Qing Luo was as unfriendly as usual. But the meaning in her words was obviously that she had listened to what Yi Qing Luo said previously, acknowledging Yi Qing Luo as her companion. Looking at the three people beside her, Yi Qing Luo's heart was filled with warmth. Her brows were filled with smiles as she slowly nodded. "Yes, we're a team." Team. These two words, Yi Qing Luo had thought and recited for 2 lifetimes. Finally today, she could openly say out the word team. In her previous life, as the head of the hidden family, she did not have the right to make friends, nor did she have the right to become companions with anyone. Everything should be given to the Yi family. This was the first time someone had treated her as a member of the team. She clenched her fists so tightly that she could no longer feel the pain from the whip wound on her arm. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, and there was a gleam of confidence in the depths of her charming eyes. "Don't worry, I won't let anything happen to any of my companions." Yi Qing Luo lowered her voice and shot a glance at the cat-beast young lady who was being guarded by Shangguan Fangi. "If there's a chance, help me bring that young lady away. As long as we bring her away, we can easily leave this place." Yi Qing Qian also knew that her target was to bring that young lady away. It was to prevent her from getting close to the young girl and exhausting her strength. However, with the help of Xiao Jin and the others, as long as they cooperated well, it would be an easy matter to bring that young lady away. The few of them exchanged glances and nodded in understanding. Yi Qing Luo's vision returned back to those surrounding students. Her gaze suddenly fell onto the wooden tokens on the students' waists, as her long and narrow eyes were suffused with a trace of treacherous craftiness. She abruptly raised her palm, and a burst of profound qi was unleashed from both her feet. Chapter 338. The branches rustled, and the fallen leaves on the ground were blown away by the strong wind. The shadows of the trees danced, and when the whirlwind blew towards them, those 20 over students felt a chill down their spines. Suddenly, a student cried out in shock, "My wooden token is gone!" "And mine!" One after another, the students touched the wooden tokens on their bodies in disbelief. That wooden token represented their points, represented their honor in the class. There was only 1 hour left till the end of the actual combat training. If they lost their wooden tokens now, it meant that their 1 day's hard work and 1 day's blood and sweat had all gone to waste. For students, wooden tokens were gone, and the other students immediately covered their own wooden tokens. After they touched their own wooden tokens, they heaved a sigh of relief. Those 4 students' faces were like frosted eggplants as they held tightly onto their waistbands, searching their entire bodies but couldn't find their wooden tokens. How could this be possible? They had obviously pinned their wooden tokens on their waistbands, waiting for the end of the training to lock in their own results. But if their wooden tokens were snatched away at this critical juncture, they would be eliminated. 1 hour, the eyes of the 4 students slowly landed on the students around them. Those 10 over students who still had their wooden tokens immediately covered their own as they took a few steps away from those 4 students. "Are you looking for your wooden tokens? I saw him earlier. He was the one who took advantage of the chaos to steal your wooden tokens." Yi-Ching Luo smiled innocently as her charming eyes curved as she pointed towards one of them. That person was stunned as his face flushed red. "What nonsense are you sprouting? How could I possibly steal their wooden tokens?" Yi-Ching Luo shrugged her shoulders. The gazes of all the students were fixated on that person, especially those 4 students who lost their wooden tokens. Their gazes towards that person were filled with suspicion. "It's not me. She's slandering us, trying to divide us." However, no matter how that person explained furiously, the students' eyes were filled with unconcealable suspicions. Suddenly, a sweet-sounding and calm voice rang out. "Don't be deceived by the intruder. He wants to make us fight among ourselves so that he can seize the opportunity to escape. How dare he show off such a petty trick in front of me?" Yi-Ching Qian's icy-cold eyes stared coldly at Yi-Ching Luo as she scoffed. "The intruder is already injured. The other 3 are nothing to be afraid of." The students were skeptical. After all, this wooden plaque represented the final results of their training. If he were to be eliminated in the last hour, he would definitely suffer from internal injuries due to anger. Take him down first. If we continue to waste time like this, our wooden token will be in even more danger. One of the students shouted impatiently as he took the lead to raise his weapon and charge towards Yi-Ching Luo's direction. He hadn't even taken a few steps when he heard Yi-Ching Luo's clear voice leisurely ringing beside his ear. "Little brother, there's someone behind trying to steal your wooden token." The student subconsciously turned his head to look behind him. He saw the student whose wooden token had mysteriously disappeared standing behind him. He glared at the student whose wooden token was missing. Before he could explain himself, a gust of wind came slashing down from his palm. "You from class 2? I didn't steal your wooden token. How dare you sneak attack me?" When this palm landed, the student was so infuriated that he opened up a map. The collaboration between the 2 classes, which had been built up with much difficulty, was once again on the verge of collapse. Everyone looked at the person beside them, feeling that the other party was trying to snatch their wooden tokens. For a moment, suspicions lingered around the students, causing them to be on tenterhooks. Brilliant. Simply brilliant. Xiao Jin's lips twitched a few times. He knew that Yi-Ching Luo was black-bellied, but he had never seen such a black-bellied one. Chapter 339. Yi-Ching Luo's eyes rose as she added a few hints of ridicule. The human heart was originally selfish, especially for those from high-profound class. They were arrogant and had a heart higher than the sky. Other than themselves, they wouldn't believe anyone else. Now that they were grouped together, it was merely to make use of each other, to get what they needed. Yiqing Luo was just teasing her slightly, knowing that her words could possibly be fake. But they couldn't help but believe her words, because they didn't dare to risk their own honor. What if the students from the other classes really wanted to snatch their wooden tokens? Class 1 and 2 students made a move, and that student from Class 1 called out the entire Class 2. This instantly caused Class 2 to rebound. Even if Yiqing Qian wanted to suppress the current situation, the seeds of suspicion had already sprouted in both parties' hearts, and there was no way to maintain the peace on the surface. Yiqing Luo shot a glance at the three people beside her as the arc of her eyes became even more enchanting. Yiqing Qian had been paying attention to Yiqing Luo's actions, and on seeing the few of them exchanging glances, her heart suddenly turned cold, trying to escape from under her nose. Don't even think about it. Yiqing Qian's figure turned illusory as she waved her long whip, like a snake sticking out its scarlet tongue, as it coiled towards the direction of Qiao Jin and the others. A dagger suddenly coiled around that long whip. The long whip quivered as it became taut and straight. On the other end of the long whip, a dagger was coiled around. The one holding the dagger was Yiqing Luo. Her fingers gripped the dagger tightly as she controlled Yiqing Qian's long whip. Both parties were in a deadlock. The aura of an earth-profound realm expert constantly appeared on the whip's body. Wave after wave, through the long whip, through the dagger, striking onto Yiqing Luo's palm, which was holding onto the dagger. That strong, profound qi had already corroded Yiqing Luo's internal organs at an extremely fast speed. Yiqing Qian apparently didn't expect that there was someone who wasn't afraid of death, attempting to withstand her earth-profound realm's qi, to be in a deadlock with her. Xiao Jin's pupils dilated slightly. He naturally understood that Yiqing Luo had already used her own strength to go against an earth-profound realm, which was a huge risk. If she was slightly careless, there was a possibility of being swallowed by the earth-profound realm's qi. If it was him, he would absolutely not be as decisive as Yiqing Luo. Xiao Jin's eyes were filled with determination as he clenched his fists. "Wait for me." After saying these two words, the gold coin darts in his hand flew out like a fairy scattering flowers. While the students were dodging the coin darts, his figure became illusory and he broke through the students' encirclement. "Be careful. Don't let him bring away the injured intruder." Yiqing Qian cried out in alarm, attempting to remind the high-profound class students. However, the students of the two classes were now suspicious of each other. He was afraid that when he went to stop the trespasser, the other students would seize the opportunity and snatch his wooden token. Yiqing Qian was exasperated as she tried to retract her whip, but the other end of the long whip was held tightly by Yiqing Luo. Her eyes were covered with a layer of ruthlessness. Her slender fingers suddenly spread open, and a ball of earth-profound light enveloped her entire palm. Yiqing Qian brushed her palm against the long whip, completely releasing the prestige of an earth-profound cultivator. For a moment, the entire training forest was engulfed by strong winds and huge waves. Thick and sturdy trees with luxuriant branches and leaves were rustled by the strong winds. The shadows of the trees danced in the wind as the bright moon in the sky shone through the gap which was opened up, scattering fragmented splendor. The ground started to tremble slightly. The surroundings beneath Yiqing Qian's feet started to crack. All the students who were staring vigilantly at the people around them started to shift their gazes onto Yiqing Qian. Chapter 340. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk as an oppressive feeling gushed up her chest as she felt a fishy sweetness in her throat. She forcefully suppressed that oppressive feeling as the dagger in her hand curled around the long whip once more. Following that, she revolved her profound qi to protect her heart. An earth-profound practitioner's power is too strong. Student, you won't be able to hold on for too long. Let's end the battle quickly. Xiao Jin saw Yiqing Luo's pair of charming eyes as it was masked with a ball of thick black color. His heart tightened as he speedily rushed towards that cat-beast young lady. Just as he was about to stretch out his hand to grab her, a long sword blocked in front of him. Xiao Jin speedily shot out a gold coin dart as it spun a few rounds and struck heavily on the long sword. Shangwan Feng Yi's arm felt numb as his brows creased tightly as he looked at Xiao Jin. "You're in the way." Xiao Jin's brows revealed a sliver of impatience, as he wasn't willing to waste time on Shangwan Feng Yi. Yin Zhenfei, who was still recuperating by the side, gripped her twin blades tightly as she tried to block Xiao Jin's path. But a ghostly voice rang beside her ear, "Your opponent is me." Before she could get up, she was pressed against by a slender figure. The sharp dagger was pressed against Yin Zhenfei's fair neck. This voice made Yin Zhenfei's pupils constrict as an inconceivable expression flashed past her eyes. She speedily reacted as her petite body swiftly retreated a few steps as she turned her head to look at the lady who stuck close to her. When she met Yin Xiao Yi's pair of spirited but chilly eyes, she seemed to have sunk into a trance as the twin blades in her hands dropped onto the ground. The two people guarding the cat-beast young lady were subdued. Tong Ziqing speedily waved her long whip as it rolled up the young lady lying on the ground and pulled her into her arms. Following that, the three of them stopped at the same time as they speedily returned to Yiqing Luo's side. Yiqing Xin's expression was gloomy as she had not expected Yiqing Luo to remain unmoved after she released her earth-profound stage qi. Instead, she restrained her even more. On seeing that young lady being brought away, she cursed in disappointment. "A bunch of trash." Her long whip shook as her profound qi turned into waves as it charged towards Yiqing Luo. But she had not expected Yiqing Luo to suddenly let go of her long whip when she was shaking it. "Retreat." Yiqing Luo took a deep breath, suppressing the sweet, fishy feeling in her throat as she opened up her arms, pressing the few people behind her to retreat rapidly. The few of them had just moved when the wave of qi exploded with a loud bang. The place where Yiqing Luo was standing earlier had already turned into a huge black hole. "Shijue." Yiqing Luo shot a glance at the cat-beast young lady in Tong Ziqing's arms and immediately called out. Shiju was currently trapped by Yun Xiang, unable to cross Yun Xiang to help its master. Its eyes were already scarlet red, losing its patience. Upon hearing Yiqing Luo's call, the scarlet-red beast's eyes blinked as it gave off a low growl. The huge body that was trapped swayed, and its huge back was already arched in an attacking posture. Although Yun Xiang was summoned here later, he understood the current situation. Those people's goal was to save the injured intruders. If this magical beast met up with the intruders would definitely escape. He waved his palms, and an earth-shattering palm wind pressed down. He absolutely could not allow this mirage beast to leave. The raging wind swept past the trees, and that fragmented moonlight swayed. Coupled with Shiju's piercing howl, it seemed extremely strange. Shiju's leopard claws slammed onto the ground as its huge body swiftly leapt up. It didn't hide, but instead it met Yin Xiang's palm qi, charging upwards. Chapter 341. That palm qi brought along the momentum of swallowing the mountains and rivers. But the minute it came into contact with Shiju's teeth, that palm qi, which had swept up the fallen leaves and caused the surrounding wind to burst out, stopped abruptly. Shiju's teeth were like a sharp blade. When it opened its mouth, it could bite off all life. Yin Xiang had not expected this low-level mirage beast to have such an ability. After it broke through his condensed palm wind, that huge leopard's head was just inches away. Yin Xiang's expression changed greatly as a panic which he had never felt before started to spread from the bottom of his heart. That pair of scarlet-red beast eyes shone with a coquettish brilliance, revealing an impatient, murderous intent. Not waiting for Yin Xiang to react, that huge leopard's claw stepped on his chest. His internal organs seemed to be squeezed by a heavy object. He fell heavily onto the ground as his white long robe was swiftly covered by the scattered leaves and dust. Shiju stepped on Yunxiang's chest and speedily rushed towards Yiqing Luo, giving off a sharp low roar. Well done! Yiqing Luo's pink lips rose under the veil as it floated gently onto Shiju's head. Her vision turned towards the back. Go up. It was the first time for the three of them to see a mirage beast at such a close distance. Even though they knew that this was Yiqing Luo's contracted war pet, but when they saw that leopard's head, which was bigger than their entire bodies, staring at them with a pair of scarlet-red eyes, their calves couldn't help but turn into jelly. Mirage Beast Grade War Pet. That was equivalent to an Earth Profound Realm Cultivator's strength. Yiqing Luo was actually able to contract such a powerful war pet. Quick, make the best use of the time. Yiqing Luo caressed Shiju's head. Shiju bent its four limbs as it lowered its body, allowing the few of them to climb up. Xiaojin understood that this wasn't the time to be shocked by the Mirage Beast as he took that young lady from Tong Ziqing's arms and flipped over onto Shiju's back. Yin Xiao, Yi, and Tong Ziqing exchanged glances as they swiftly climbed onto Shiju's back. Try to leave? How could Yiqing Qian let them leave so easily? The long whip waved over once again as her figures speedily chased up to them. Yiqing Luo had yet to leap onto Shiju's back when Yiqing Qian was already nearing. The long whip swept out in an arc, setting off a strong, imposing manner, heading towards Yiqing Luo's face. Coincidentally, Yin Xiao, Yi, and Tong Ziqing had sat down properly, and Yiqing Luo forcefully endured the discomfort in her body as her palms struck the ground fiercely and her figure swiftly soared into the sky, landing stably on Shiju's back. This action caused the veil on Yiqing Luo's face to be lifted. When a few of them sat down, Shiju's figure transformed into a bolt of lightning. In an instant, he had already disappeared into the lush forest, disappearing without a trace. The entrance area was in a mess, and many students did not even dare to breathe. The intruder left. With low-level magical beasts as mounts, there was no way they wouldn't be able to catch up to the magical beasts. As for Elder Yinxiang, he was severely injured by the illusionary beast and did not even have the strength to get up. The powerful qi that swept through the entire entrance gradually stopped. The fallen leaves slowly floated to the ground. And Yiqing Jian, who was originally waving her long whip to chase after him, stood stiffly on the spot. He even forgot to retract his whip. That beautiful face was filled with disbelief. She stared blankly at the direction where Shiju disappeared, as her heart thumped hard and trembled violently. Just now, the moment the veil was lifted, the outline that was vaguely revealed, that slender and fair jaw, rosy pink lips, especially that pair of soul-stealing eyes. Yiqing Qian's heart seemed to be choked by something. Even her breathing became heavy. That red-robe lady, was she Yiqing Luo? How could it be possible? How could she have the ability to enter the heavenly training forest? How could she have the ability? Recalling that low-level mirage beast, recalling the scene when Yiqing Luo sat on the high-level mirage beast's back, her expression instantly turned pale. Chapter 342. Shiju's speed was extremely fast, and in a blink of an eye, it had already brought the few of them out of the secret tunnel. Before they walked out of the secret tunnel, Yiqing Luo called out to Shiju. They had already left the training forest. Shiju's size and its mirage beast's aura would easily attract the attention of the other experts in the academy. They had to be careful. After Yiqing Luo and the others got down from Shiju's back, Shiju turned into a palm-sized pet. Yin Xiao stared curiously at that palm-sized Shiju. She couldn't imagine that this was the low-level mirage beast which had the size of a thick tree. The current Shiju, which had shrunk, looked like a cat and a dog. Its cuteness was evident. Let's hurry back to the devil class, change our clothes, and deal with it. Yiqing Luo scanned the surroundings vigilantly. Walking out of the training forest, this was the academy's turf. If the hidden experts in the academy were to find out about their devil classes matter, what happened in the training forest today would definitely implicate the devil class. Your wound must be treated in time. Let's get Lulu to take a look at it when we return to the devil class. Yin Xiao looked at the wound on Yi Qing Luo's arm, which had already congealed into a blood scab as her slender brows creased into a bundle. Yi Qing Luo's profound grade wasn't high, but she was on par with an Earth Profound Realm cultivator. On the surface, she looked fine, but internally, she had suffered a serious internal injury. Xiao Jin single-handedly carried that cat-beast young lady in his arms. Let's go. Devil class, Beiming Lulu's pharmacy. Yiqing Luo laid on the bed, and her arm had been bandaged. Her face was pale, without any color of blood. One look and one knew that her injury wasn't light. Beiming Lulu sat by the bedside, and the silver needles in her hands accurately pierced into Yiqing Luo's various acupoints. Her medical skills were brilliant, and she was confident that she could restore Yiqing Luo's body back to its original state. But it would take some time. Yiqing Luo's internal organs were all attacked by Yiqing Qian's profound qi. She didn't feel any pain when she contended with Yiqing Qian in the training forest, but the moment she laid down and moved slightly, she felt a heart-wrenching pain. Looking at Yiqing Luo, who was in so much pain that her forehead was drenched in cold sweat, Beiming Lulu sighed softly. I really don't know what kind of physique you have. Your profound grade isn't high to compete with an Earth Profound grade cultivator's profound qi. Your internal organs are almost shattered. It was strange. Beiming Lulu had never seen anyone with Yiqing Luo's physique. If it was an ordinary person, even if it was a profound practitioner of the profound realm, forcibly receiving the profound energy released by a profound practitioner of the Earth Profound Realm would result in their internal organs being shattered and becoming a cripple. In the worst-case scenario, they would be devoured by the profound practitioner of the Earth Profound Realm and disappear from this world. However, Yiqing Luo only suffered an internal injury. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels were intact. It was as if something was protecting her internal organs. Yiqing Luo's breathing was slightly unstable as Beiming Lulu kept pricking her body with needles one after another, causing her body to tremble in pain. Student Yi, you're too reckless. Looking at Yiqing Luo biting her lower lip tightly, sweating profusely in pain, but trying her best to suppress the pain, Xiao Jin's tightly knitted brows creased into a bundle. He was at the scene and saw everything clearly. Recalling the scene of Yiqing Luo using the dagger to restrain Yiqing Qian and competing with profound qi, a chill ran down her spine. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly as she shook her head. I'm fine. Sure enough, he needed to improve his strength as soon as possible. She needed to find her own profound jade heart as soon as possible. Otherwise, based on her current strength, if she met someone with a higher profound grade, she would be helpless. If it wasn't for the fact that the Azure Dew bracelet had activated its protection mode in time and used the enchantment to protect her internal organs, her injuries would definitely not be just this. Chapter 343. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched as she revealed a faint smile. She could tell that these people were genuinely concerned about her. I'm really fine. If it wasn't for your help today, I wouldn't be able to bring this lass away so smoothly. Yiqing Luo's brows were tinged with smiles. We're a team, and today's coordination was extremely good. Xiao Jin and the others saw her smiling so peacefully as an indescribable gloominess gushed out from their hearts. Student Yi, I hope that in future when you're facing danger, you'll think of us behind you. Tong Ziqing, who was leaning against the door with her arms crossed in front of her chest, putting on a sour face, her icy cold gaze swept past Yiqing Luo. We don't have that kind of leisure to be able to rush to your side in time every single time. Seeing Tong Ziqing's obviously concerned but awkward look, Yiqing Luo laughed softly. Yes, I won't do in future. Her charming eyes curved into crescents as she smiled, like a bright crescent moon, radiating brilliance. The others looked at her smile, and that indescribable gloominess in their hearts slowly dissipated. Not knowing when it started, Yiqing Luo seemed to have become the core in their eyes. Yiqing Luo had obviously joined Devil Class for merely half a month, but her position in their hearts was the same as Long Yunjian. Perhaps it was because when Yiqing Luo first entered Devil Class, that confident and resolute gaze, using her own ability to speak boldly, had awed them. Or perhaps it was because every single time Yiqing Luo was able to use her words and her views to convince them. Or perhaps it was because Yiqing Luo obviously looked cold and indifferent, not someone who liked to meddle in other people's business, but towards all the students in the class, she had never been stingy with her help. Especially today, she faced 20 over high profound class students alone, not panicking in the face of danger. Even after they appeared, in order to ensure their safety, she went against Yiqing Qian's actions alone. Their hearts were completely shaken. They asked themselves honestly, if it was them, would they really be able to be so resolute? That's right. Where's that young lady? The minute she reached Devil Class, she was forcefully brought to Beiming Lu by Qiao Jin, and that young lady was sent somewhere else. The room next door. Tong Ziqing frowned, and a trace of impatience flashed across her eyes. I didn't expect student Yi to be so kind. For a girl whom you don't even know, you actually wanted to rescue her from the hands of more than 10 high-profound class students. Do you really think that you're a god? Tong Ziqing really couldn't understand why this seemingly cold woman would save someone completely unrelated to her time and time again. Previously, he had helped Enai Rupan, and now he had saved that strange young girl. Furthermore, both of them were extremely troublesome. Could such a kind person really stand firm in this world in the future? She's not an ordinary person. Yiqing Luo had no intention to tell them in detail about the matters regarding the Beastmen clan. Old Man Song had said that the Beastmen race had already been extinct in the entire Nirvana realm. Even if he said it out loud, these people might not understand, and it might even cause panic. She chose an explanation that everyone could accept. Look at the ears on her head and that black tail. She's not a normal human. Xiao Jin and the others already had doubts in their hearts. This was the first time they had seen a person with a pair of cat ears and a cat tail. This was the reason why Yiqing Luo chose to save that young lady. Chapter 344. Xiao Jin and the rest didn't say anything else. Beiming Lu had already finished her acupuncture and heaved a sigh of relief. Rest for a few days. In less than 5 days, I guarantee you will be back to your previous state. 5 days? Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she shook her head slowly. No way. I must go for the freshman training. If I don't go, I'm afraid our actions today will be exposed. In the training forest, when she leapt onto Shi Ju's back, she seemed to have seen Yiqing Qian's astonished face. Yiqing Luo wasn't sure if Yiqing Qian had recognized her. If she didn't attend the freshman training at this time and stayed in Devil Class, based on Yiqing Qian's character, she would definitely be suspicious. If Yiqing Qian knew that she was the one who saved the young lady in the training forest, she would then trace it back to Devil Class. The current Devil Class wasn't strong enough to contend against the entire academy. Long Yunjian must have the same thoughts as her. If the academy knew about Devil Class's students' aptitude and forcefully allocated them to the intermediate or low profound classes, and they didn't have the ability to make these students stay, then the gains would not make up for the losses. Before they could confirm, they couldn't take the risk. Just based on your current state, you still want to attend the freshman training? Beiming Lu put down the bottles in her hands as she rolled her eyes at Yiqing Luo. Don't spoil my reputation as the #1 divine doctor. I'm afraid tomorrow, Yiqing Qian will come to the freshman training ground to confirm. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. She also understood that with her current physical condition, it was impossible for her to complete the freshman training. But if she didn't go, Yiqing Qian would place the suspicion on her. She couldn't risk the entire Devil Class. At most, we'll let Master Gui Yu apply for leave from the instructors. Just say that Master Gui Yu is training us trash, and want you to be a training example. Yin Xiao, he clapped her hands fiercely. Right, let's do it this way. This will only make Yi Qing Qian more suspicious. Yi Qing Luo shook her head as she lowered her head to look at the acupuncture point on her chest and gently breathed out, "Is there any way to cover up the whip wound on my arm?" Xiao Jin's expression changed. "Who cares if she has suspicions? We'll deal with it when the situation calls for it. Earlier you said you won't joke with your life. Aren't you playing with your life?" "I know what I'm doing." Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes as her lips curled into an extremely shallow arc. "Lulu should have a way to make me get off the bed tomorrow." Biming Lulu slightly raised her eyebrows. She was extremely confident in her medical skills, of course, but it's only limited to getting out of bed. If you participate in the freshman training, even if my ancestor comes back from the dead to heal you, it would still be impossible. Yi Qing Luo nodded slightly. "As long as I can get off the bed and act like a normal person, that's enough. Move like a normal person." Biming Lulu creased her slender brows. "Although your internal organs weren't crushed by Yi Qing Qian's profound qi, but you're more or less injured, and the moment you move, you'll feel pain. It's a little difficult to move like a normal person." "It's nothing." Yi Qing Luo's lips curled upwards. It was just pain. She could bear with it. In the past, she had endured all kinds of hardships, tiredness, and pain. Even if someone were to take a knife and cut her flesh, she would not make a sound. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.